Hey guys. So, during the podcast, I forgot to do my thesis statement and question. So I decided to do it here and now because it's very important for this episode, and it ties into the previous episodes we did with defending the prequels. So, and the reason why it's right here at the beginning of the video for a disclaimer is because there's no way to edit in my little thesis that I said in the middle of the podcast. So it'd be kind of weird if I just shoved it at the beginning. But so bear with me. This is sort of a disclaimer and whatnot, and I'm going to announce a couple things. Okay, first of all, here's the thesis. So, and this is something that we cannot answer until the end of the video. Are the prequels as bad as people make them out to be? Are these movies good movies but misunderstood? Did the prequel trilogy really need to happen? Was everything in the prequel trilogy poorly executed, as some people say? Did you really need to read the expanded universe to understand the prequels? There are podcasts in this episode. We'll give you that consensus, and you'll be able to make that judgment, and we'll also make that judgment at the end. So yeah, that is the thing that I forgot to do at the midway through the episode. Well, I mean at the beginning of the episode. So yeah, my mistake there. Hope you guys enjoy this episode, by the way, and keep an eye out for future podcasts. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Darcinovia, your favorite angry Star Wars fanboy. This is the podcast that about all the stuff that we missed in the previous episodes. Sorry about that. These podcasts are really long. We intend to close the door with this one. I don't want to do another video on this because the last podcast was 4 hours. So I'm just going to introduce everyone. We have one new member this time. I like to introduce him.
All right, YouTube. It's Shadow King Nazru, and I'm here to defend the prequels and beat the crap out of the haters.
Yes, I'll give you a cookie later for that.
Lol. Well,
okay, I guess it's me. So I am Kyle Phantom. I'm just an AMV maker and that guy in the comment section.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Iron Inquisitor, everyone's favorite Plinkett Slayer. Driven insane by those damn reviews.
All right.
General Suggestion and Avalon, of course.
Hey everyone, Avalon 1000 here.
All right. So, okay, so we're going to be timing. Okay, so I'm going to start timing ourselves right now. So 45 minutes on Phantom Menace. Okay, here we go. We're trying to get as much. I hope we get all of them in 40 minutes. If we can't get them all in 45 minutes, something's wrong with us. But, okay, starting now, beginning timer. Okay, so we're just going to jump straight to the criticisms and not bother anything else, but anything else though. Let's get to it started. Okay, timer now. Okay. Here's actually something that I'm gonna add a clip because remember when Mark called out these assholes when it came to the Jake Lloyd situation?
I couldn't believe some of the things they wrote about the prequels. I mean, but really beyond I didn't like it. You ruined my childhood, and I'm still angry about the way they treated Jake Lloyd. He was only 10 years old, that boy, and he did exactly what George wanted him to do. Believe me, I understand clunky dialogue. So I almost got hornswoggled in that documentary where they weren't calling it The People versus George Lucas at the time, but I could tell from the questions they were asking me, it was an open invitation to trash George. And I have issues with George, but I love that man.
So yeah, we're really excited to make movies.
I was gonna say, what happens in The Last Jedi?
Yes.
Oh, that was such a tragedy.
Here's something that I caught on in the video, like that Mark was in with these people. Anyone else thought these assholes that were in the room with him were very disrespectful to Mark when he was bringing up the prequels and whatnot? Like how they were giving their looks, how they were basically looking around and not really looking like they were listening to him. Like they looked like original trilogy fanboys, and then one just brings up The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, dude, he was talking about the fucking prequels, And he was trying to point out, like, his disgust with these people. So if you guys are just randomly bringing up The Last Jedi, it proves that basically, and this is before The Last Jedi came out, like, which is hilarious, the karma in that movie. But the fucking, like, those people in the video, you'll have to rewatch the video to see what I mean. But those guys with those neck beards, except for Mark, because Mark is an amazing man. He's a very good man. But the thing is, those assholes in the fucking, like, if you saw, General, you saw that video.
I saw parts of it. I never actually saw the entirety of it. How long did Mark was talking about the prequels in that video?
Like, you'll have to, like, look at it again. Just look at the people in the background and whatnot. And obviously we did talk about, like, in the first episode of how, like, Mark called out these people, but it's funny is that there's these two assholes that are in the same room with him asking him questions about The Last Jedi and asking him questions about, Star Wars. And then I don't know how the prequels came up,
Are you serious? Mark Hamill was talking about a boy's life being ruined, and they're asking a question about a fucking movie?
A movie that, in fact, sucks in hindsight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, okay. In
hold on. It wouldn't matter if the movie was good. The fact that when you tell someone that they've indirectly ruined this boy's life, you don't bring something like that up right afterwards. This is some serious shit.
Yeah,
actually, to them, if you're part of the prequels, your life doesn't matter.
Like,
like those watching the video right now. I actually saw that, in the last 10 seconds, they changed the topic to The Last Jedi. And the guys didn't even seem like actually feel a little guilty or sadness or anything with Mark Hamill. They were actually just looking at him with a face of, oh, just talking about the prequels. Okay, I'll just stay still here, just listen to him and ignoring it.
This proves what kind of fucking people these OT fanboys really are, honestly. Oh, God! Oh my fucking God! I can't.
Yeah, they lack sympathy and empathy, which is not good.
Not good.
Yet they'll recommend people to read the 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson.
About that already.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to put a joke in there.
That's fine.
Wait, this is the video where Mark Hamill's talking about how the prequels are bashed, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
I'll be playing the clips in the video so you'll be able to see.
Okay, perfect.
But seriously, like, if you watch that video, which I'm pretty sure all of you just did, just now, those fuckers, honestly, I wanna call Marcus Phoenix and have them chainsawed by the glorious Lancer assault rifle. The glorious Lancer chainsaw assault rifle from Gears of War. So yeah, but these fuckers, honestly, these guys pissed me off when I was watching that video again, and they bring up The Last Jedi at the end. I was just like, seriously, like, he was just going on about the problems with the fucking prequel hating community. And okay, like, God, people these days. Okay.
Well, like I said, these people think that they're the victims and that the people who worked on the prequels and made a movie that they hate are the people that are attacking them, that they're the villains. So any verbal or physical attacks on them is justified in their eyes. They think they're the heroes.
Which, fun fact about that, actually, I have another message for Plinkett fanboys like I did the last episode.
Let's hear it.
Iron, You know when basically Plinkett fanboys make the counter by saying, you know that Plinkett's only doing this based on being a casual movie maker? I'm just like,
I've read so many of those comments. There's a few people who said that on my channel. Oh.
And I was like, okay, I'm just like, bitch, you do know, first of all, that if you look at Stock Ass, you'll know that he's a full-on Star Wars original trilogy Star Wars fanboy. So that makes your argument there irrelevant to defending Stock Ass. And also, I've met casual moviegoers that liked the prequels. I've met casual moviegoers that freaking you know, if they didn't like they just moved on with their lives and just acted like adults about it and said, I don't like the prequels, so I'm just gonna move on with my life. You know, fucking, you know, that's, and these man children on the internet acted like freaking, you know what I mean.
Well,
we don't know how shit went down with them.
Well, they blow it completely out of proportion. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't a good portion of the fandom that hates the prequels, but it's exaggerated.
Extremely exaggerated.
Okay. At best,
Very exaggerated.
It's mixed to positive, you know, at best, and you know, indifferent at worst. It's like most of the vicious, you know, hatred for the prequels is coming from the people on the internet, not from normal fucking people who just watch movies and just move on with their lives after they watch it, whether it's good or bad.
And you know what's funny about that? Star Wars only in his prequel hating meter was like, if the prequels are that good, then why did they divide the Star Wars fan base? Like, everyone gets behind the OT, while the PT, there's always someone saying that they're not that good. So if they're that good, why did they divide the Star Wars community?
Wait, hold on. That's hypocritical, considering The Last Jedi divided the community far more than the prequels did. Isn't that being a hypocrite?
Well, so let the Star Wars only.
Okay.
Did he make that video after The Last Jedi came out?
Before.
Before.
Okay. Then we can't exactly call him a hypocrite.
Yeah, but he won't. He doesn't own. He never owns up to anything. King. When he's wrong, he never admits it. He deflects it.
So just like Plinkett.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Not to mention, most of his video is literally derivative of the Plinkett criticisms on the prequels.
Pretty much all the original trilogy fanboys' criticism, yeah.
If I had more time on my videos, I would have actually made a response to it.
Okay, seriously, as far as I'm concerned, if you don't have an original thought on why the prequels are bad, then I can't take you seriously. I mean, okay, let's compare The Last Jedi hate to the prequels. I'm just going just for a bit. There's people. Okay, General, I have a question. When you talk to people that you know, do they hate The Last Jedi for the same reasons you did?
They do, but they don't like actually say exactly how I say it. So it's more like they speak on their own mind.
Okay, because you know every person I've talked to hate The Last Jedi for different reasons. You know, they hated what they did to Luke Skywalker, which that's not original. That's everyone. They hate, you know, they hated how it was directed. They hated how, you know, the story made no sense. Of course, my reasoning for hating it stems from the fact that I know how good Star Wars could be, and the Last Jedi is just a lazy attempt just to deconstruct everything. Of course, that's a different subject altogether, which we'll probably do that in a different podcast. But the prequel hate isn't comparable to The Last Jedi. It just isn't, because The Last Jedi is one film compared to The Force Awakens wasn't divisive, and the people I talked to back in the day, they weren't vehemently anti-prequel. That didn't happen until after 2009. So how does the public go from being indifferent or liking a movie to suddenly hating it with such venom that they drive the creator away?
because you got a vocal minority from like people like Plinkett, Nostalgia Critic, Linkara, Cinema Snob, and so many others.
And the people who
especially Confused Man.
And the people who made the People versus George Lucas. Don't forget those assholes.
Documentary. Oh. By the way, in that same video that you were talking about, Kyle, of Mark Hamill talking about the prequel hatred, he mentioned how the people behind the documentary tried to get Mark Hamill into it and to talk negatively about George Lucas. Yeah. That is
wasn't that the stupid movie that had the whole stupid song of George Lucas, break my childhood?
Yep. That's the one.
That's the one.
George Lucas didn't ruin anyone's childhoods. They're just being whiny.
Whiny man babies.
Well, it goes to show how powerful propaganda online can be.
Yeah.
I say this. I say that kind of thing would be more applicable to either The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. But even then, if all it takes is one movie to ruin your childhood wasn't worth shit.
and also, here's my argument about your childhood. Your childhood was a fucking timeline, okay? And here's the thing: your childhood ends once you turn 18. So you can't say if something was revolving around one thing in your childhood, then something was wrong with you. But the thing is,
I don't agree with that, Kyle. I think your childhood ends once you turn 30.
What?
At least 21.
Oh, I love that because I'm still at heart still kind of a child.
Same.
Because I still love video games. I still love candy. I still love I still like cartoons and shit. So
that's like Star Wars.
Dude, you can love video games for life. I mean, I'm just working to become a video game designer. So as soon as I can get a job, that's gonna be a thing.
Cool.
Well, I'll explain why I feel that way after this podcast is over. If you care to know why I feel that way, I don't think you're an adult until you're 30.
Okay. Any case, so what we're talking about, the Mark Hamill video?
Yeah, but I think it's now. Yeah. I think we made our point that these fanboys are pieces of shit. So
if you ask me, I think we spend too much time on this. We need to move on.
Let's go to the next one.
Okay, next one is the Anakin being a Gary Stu in episode 1.
Who's the Gary Stu?
Hold on, didn't we address this? Whatever, we'll address it again. Whatever.
No, we didn't address it, actually. Like
we did.
Him being able to blow up the Jedi control ship, him building C-3PO at a young age, him winning the pod race, blah 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 blah. All this stuff that he. But
how is he a Gary Stu? He doesn't. He not everyone instantly likes him. Obi-Wan, doesn't even want to be around Anakin.
Yeah, and didn't the Jedi Council refuse to train him because they felt he was too old and felt that they could sense the dark side?
Exactly.
That too.
And building C-3PO, you could say that it came from his background of living on Tatooine and having mechanical skills, which would be useful to what's his name,
Watto.
And also from what I recall, didn't he also mess around with some ships around every now and then, like speeders and stuff like that?
And you can tell that he has extensive mechanical skills because he was building his own custom pod racer.
It makes sense since he's working in a junk shop.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention Anakin, his specialty is machines. And when he piloted the Naboo starfighter, it wasn't like he was doing a bunch of crazy maneuvers. It was on autopilot through most of the battle, and he destroyed the droid starship by luck.
Accident.
He didn't. Wait, autopilot exists? Why didn't anyone tell Admiral Gender Studies that?
That's a good one.
Not to mention, didn't Anakin have R2-D2 to help him as well?
Yeah, he did. Anakin, R2 probably gave him the instructions of how to pilot the damn thing. Let alone freaking if you rewatch the movie. I don't know if you guys rewatched the movie before during this podcast, but probably I didn't. But it looks like he was just mainly trying to figure out how to use the controls most of the time.
Okay, let's go left.
That's a good he was literally learning how to fly the Naboo starfighter in the middle of a fucking battle.
He was also pressing multiple buttons too, trying to figure out what they were doing.
Yeah.
what they did.
Didn't this criticism not pop up until recently though? Because
Yeah,
people accusing of Ray being a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing.
look
I'm gonna
great,
take. Let's like. Okay, so David Stewart brought this up, even though I think his reviews are definitely way better than any of the prequel hater reviews. His reviews are way better and more objective, but some of them are a little bit meh. Some of his criticisms are meh if you watch
Okay,
him.
get to the point.
But that's where he got the whole Anakin Gary Stu thing. But let's have a quick comparison to Rey. What is Rey really? She's a fucking plot device. She literally guides the whole plot everywhere. Anakin didn't do this shit once. He was.
I mean, I've seen videos trying to compare how Gary Stewish / Mary Stewish, the heroes of all three trilogies, and Anakin ended up being the least Gary Stew, and people just pretty much said that Luke was more of a Gary Stew than Anakin, even though I don't think Luke or Anakin are Gary Stews. It's just Rey that's Mary Stewish, and I guess you can probably consider. And I guess you can consider Solo a bit since he has plot armor.
Yeah, but these days people have no understanding what a Gary / Mary Sue is. Hold on, Kyle. Will I be allowed to be using this as an example?
What?
Go ahead.
Okay, Kira Yamato from Gundam Seed and Seed Destiny, he would qualify as a Gary Stu, considering the fact that anyone who's seen any Gundam series would know what I'm talking about. He's able to instantly pilot the Strike Gundam, despite the fact he's never piloted a mobile suit before. He's able to understand complex computers, despite, of course, coordinate this. I'm not even going to get too deep into that. He survives situations he shouldn't. Like, he survived a nuclear explosion. Everyone seems to like him. He's instantly right all the damn time. And he barely struggles for anything he has. That's an anime example of a Gary Stu.
You know,
Now,
I hate to jump on the Sword Art Online bandwagon, but
Yeah,
I
but
don't
Kyle-
hate the series. I wanted to say Kirito could be classified as one sort of.
Well, I like it. 2 examples from anime and another and 2 examples from non-Star Wars, just to prove a point of what a Gary and Mary Sue is.
Also, there's another video that tried to compare Anakin to Rey in terms of who's a more Mary Sue character, and that's Hello Greedo, of course.
Oh,
Oh my
Only
god!
that asshole would do something that's stupid.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're not gonna tell someone who okay, I've read fan fiction back in the day, lots of it. I know a Mary Sue and Gary Stu when I see one. You're not gonna argue with me.
Lol. Well, he tried, and he even said, "Who cares that Rey's a Mary Sue and she's a Mary Sue? Then Anakin is a Mary
of
Sue."
course he'd say that.
Yeah, he said that.
Brain would. I mean, because if you have a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu, then you know that everything will turn out well for them, and thus you have no reason to care about what's happening on screen. Look at the Resident Alice movies, for crying out loud.
Actually, King, explain. Use that as an example because you're more familiar with that than I am.
Yeah, I've never seen those movies, so go ahead.
That's true. Yeah, that is true because I've seen the movies. Okay, so in the first movie, Alice was decently competent. You could say that some of her fighting skills came from, despite having amnesia, that she was trained by Umbrella or some special ops. And then in the second movie, she somehow perfectly bonds with the T-virus and is able to run up walls, go blow for blow with Nemesis, which if you've done that in Resident Evil 3, which was practically be suicide if you tried to fight against Nemesis, can shoot bullets at a bike in midair, causing liquors to explode. And then in the third movie, she gets telekinesis and can lift a bus and cause it to explode, destroying a bunch of birds, and can shoot a psychic beam at a tyrant. Then in the fourth movie, despite taking her powers away, she's still able to pull off ridiculous feats, and still does it in like the fifth movie, I think, and before they gave her powers. Then they say in the sixth movie that they lied about giving her powers, yet she's still pulling off these ridiculous, inhuman feats. that is a quintessential Mary Sue.
She makes Ray look like nothing in terms of Mary Sue feats.
There's also something else. Like I'm back in episode 1. You see, with Anakin with the pod race, how Anakin, it's like his pod has trouble starting up, and so therefore it's like people are laughing. It's like they think he's not going to win, but then he later starts up his pod. Then later on, you see his pod comes apart a bit, and then Anakin uses that weird magnetic thing like him to get the pod back together. And then there comes a point in which he's stuck together with Sebulba, and so therefore it's like and there's also even the part how Sebulba breaks off this thing like for foul play right before the pod race begins, but then Anakin is still able to win, so things don't go perfectly for Anakin, you know?
Not to mention, I'd argue the reason why he was competent enough to know what to do with the pod race is, besides his mechanical abilities, he also has that instinct that the Force gives you in what you should kind of do. I think you know which one I'm talking about.
I think so, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now that makes him a Gary Stu. If you really want to see a Gary Stu, look at Digimon with Rio. He's like the quintessential Gary Stu. I mean, for fuck's sake, he has the second most powerful Digimon in the whole series.
That's something.
I never liked his inclusion in the show, if I had to be honest. But
no, it goes beyond the shows. It goes like into the games and the manga.
We're pressed for time here. So let's move on. Okay, next one relating to Anakin. Anakin living on Tatooine just like Luke.
What of it?
What's wrong with it?
There's nothing wrong with it.
The saga is supposed to begin on Tatooine.
Okay, I've actually heard that criticism. Some say that it's because it's bringing Tatooine back. Oh, isn't it ripping off the OT?
How is it ripping off?
It's not ripping off anything.
When the Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
I mean, okay. What's wrong with the saga be giving on Tatooine? What's wrong with
old
that?
Ground. Basically.
Yeah, but it's a prequel. It's in the same universe.
They
mainly have a problem with the fact that Luke was on that planet, too.
Who fucking cares?
Exactly.
Yep.
Plus, there's also the thing about with Anakin, how, you see, he's from Tatooine, you see, like, how he was with his mother, like, and they were both slaves under Watto, whereas with Luke, it's like he was with his aunt and uncle, and it's like, the point is that how Anakin had harder than Luke did, you know? But that's what I was going for. It's like Anakin had harder. Plus, here's something else. It's like Anakin started out as a slave, and then he becomes like a great Jedi and also Darth Vader. It's the classic thing about how people coming from humble origins, humble roots. You know.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, that George Lucas doing that was to compare and contrast to Anakin and Luke. You know, how they grew up.
Yeah. Plus, it's an homage to like classic fairy tales and stories where the hero comes from like humble beginnings. If you look like stories like Dragon Age, that is that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I look at like this, that for Tatooine is this. Now we all know why Anakin as Vader refuses to go to Tatooine. Mm-hmm. I don't. Let's keep that joke of I don't like sand out of here.
I hate that so much.
You know,
and that's mainly because Anakin Skywalker is my favorite character.
He is mine too. The thing is that like here's the thing, is Anakin sees that planet as a place of pain. He lost his mother on there. He left his mother to die on that planet. There are things on that planet he cannot stand, like slavery, like the huts. He can't stand that shit on that planet. That's why
planet is more painful to him than Mustafar.
Yeah, exactly. Which is ironic, by the way.
Until Disney Canon's Marvel Comics has him visit Tatooine like it's nothing.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I know.
Character motivations. Who needs them?
They completely ruined.
There's the thing. So Anakin. So the thing is how Anakin, he finds Tatooine unbearable, while Luke finds Tatooine just a drag because he has hopes and dreams and stuff, you know. And also he had a decent upbringing.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention, wouldn't it make sense that Anakin was at one point on Tatooine because Luke has a family there. He has an aunt and an uncle. Wouldn't it make sense that his father probably was there at some point?
Yeah, that's another thing.
So
right.
at one point, Tatooine would be in the prequel trilogy, whether you like it or not.
Guys, you're inserting critical thinking. You can't expect the original trilogy fanboys to do that. We gotta dumb this down for the
Lordy.
And fun fact, those guys claim that we don't have any critical thinking or actual arguments to defend the prequels.
Oh yeah,
That's funny. That's considering those NPCs think like a hive mind.
exactly.
Indeed.
All right,
Anyway,
next criticism regarding planets and stars, just because I went on Tatooine. Okay, by the way, fuck belated media, by the way. He said that Naboo should have been Alderaan. What do you think about that?
Yes, I've heard some people say that.
about that.
I'm just like, who fucking cares? We get more planets.
Actually,
Yeah, we get more plants.
Actually, I actually like the idea of Naboo, but again, I can't bring this up. I mean, isn't it kind of interesting how Palpatine comes from, basically the Satan of the Star Wars universe was born on one of the most beautiful planets in the Star Wars universe.
I know, right?
It's ironic.
Yeah.
The reason why prequel haters fucking
Luciferian.
the reason why prequel haters fucking hate Naboo is because of Gungans and Jar Jar. That's why.
And the name. They also hate how it's called Naboo.
What about it?
They just
So
hate
bad
how
about
it
the name.
sounds. They hate how it sounds. Like it sounds kind of pathetic.
Well,
I thought you said it because it sounds like poop.
but isn't it kind of fitting that Luke? Never mind. I'm not. This is a subjective thing, but isn't the whole point of Naboo is to show that where Padme comes from? Like, I mean, Naboo is an outer rim world, which in Star Wars terms is a third world country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would it be kind of contrived if we had her come from Alderaan?
Exactly.
Isn't Alderaan a lot closer to the core?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Well,
I've seen-
it's just like people talk about cliches in literature. Wouldn't that be the ultimate cliche? I'm using this as an example that Padme would be a princess, and therefore Anakin would be like would be a peasant, and they somehow fall in love and get together. I'm sorry, it's just one of the most contrived, tropes in fiction. It's like both Anakin and Padme both come from humble backgrounds. That's why I think their relationship is more believable because they can connect with more, in my opinion, anyway.
Oh yeah. And speaking of that, there was a comment on our Phantom Menace podcast related to Anakin, stating that basically Anakin being a child was actually a good thing because it actually made him is actually one of the reasons why he falls to the dark side, because he doesn't understand human emotions and whatnot. I would have to read the comment. Let me pull it up. You guys give your thoughts while I look for it.
Well, there is the thing about Anakin being separated from his mother. It's like that if a child was separated from his or her mother at a young age, or from the father or any parent, it's like it would have a big effect upon that person. Therefore, it's like there's the thing about having emotional grief because of it, and the root of a fall to a dark side.
Yeah. Okay, now I have the comment right here. I disagree that Anakin had to be the same age as Padme to make it work better. Anakin's relative age difference and immaturity in relation to Padme's behavior and mine is one of the reasons he is so reckless, whiny, bad decision maker during episodes 2 and 3. Padme is always ahead of him, thus causing intensifying disturbance on his mind. So I think that's
I could kind of see where he's going with.
So that's an interesting defense for Anakin as a kid. For once, I thought a lot of us would agree with, a lot of people would agree with our point, but I like that. I like that. And plus, I didn't really mind Anakin being a kid, to be honest with you. But
neither.
So
Well,
I like Anakin being a kid.
Well, it doesn't really make our defense look good if we don't have some disagreements, because I actually still stand by. I think Anakin should have been a little bit older than 9 years old. That's just me.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
the bigger
disagreement's not
difference
good.
in age make them a little more, their relationship a little more, say, believable? Because you say, because they're closer to the age, wouldn't they bond a lot easier? Like in a less believable way, kind of.
I don't know. It's mostly because I would have rather had the same actor through the entire trilogy rather than switch actors in the second film. That's the reason why I wanted Anakin to. I would have preferred Anakin if he was older.
I
That's
still
my
actually
reason.
see them as the same, actually. Okay, I know this is just a cover of a book, but if you check the Star Wars Jedi Quest cover art, you see the transformation between Jake Lloyd to Hayden Christensen. It looks very damn good, like almost to the point that you wouldn't even notice they're like two different actors, honestly.
Oh yeah. I saw that one time when I was at the bookstore a long time ago. Oh, I read.
Yeah,
that.
when I was in elementary school, they had those books in the library, and I was reading a few of them, and yeah, I remember it looking pretty good.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
I'll show it here.
we gotta continue.
yeah.
All right.
Quick note, by the way, proves that the EU was fucking canon. So suck on that, EU haters.
Hold on,
Oh, yeah,
guys.
for
Let's.
later.
We're not bringing up the EU. Remember,
Yeah,
that's another video.
I know. I just wanted to say that. Okay. So Iron. So unfortunately, we'll not have your favorite time today, unfortunately. But if you want to bring up some any bullshit from Plinkett, go right ahead. But I got something that was bullshit from Plinkett. He criticized the quote.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Yes, I remember that.
Are you kidding me? That was one of the most popular quotes from the prequels at the time. I remember watching like X Play, and they loved that quote.
And they like the thing is that they say that this quote makes no sense. Even fucking like another YouTuber known as the Unusual Suspect says it makes no sense. I'm just like, of course it makes sense. Like someone here explain to it. Like I'm not going to because I would be here for fucking 30 minutes explaining about it. So
Okay.
I mean, Luke in Return of the Jedi is a perfect example of this.
Yep. So, you want to explain it or I explain?
Well, okay. Remember, when Vader was basically talking about how if he wouldn't return to the dark side, she will. Because
If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will.
Luke was afraid for Leia, and there was an instant, at least briefly, that he hated his father and wanted to destroy him. Like
he
Luke
got
almost,
angry.
he was afraid and he was angry and he was on the verge of becoming the very person that his father was until he snapped out of it when he realized, what kind of person he was going to become.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Luke almost. I mean, how does that not make sense? Especially with the context of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, in Empire Strikes Back, Luke went through those steps too. Luke was angry at Obi-Wan for not telling him about the truth, and he was suffering around the same time because it's like, what is wrong with that line with Yoda? There's nothing wrong with it.
Plinkett is just being a fucking fat ass idiot.
Well, and many people are following in his big ass footsteps. Oh wait.
Oh, it's the end all be all of what the prequel hate should be.
Who's the bigger fool? The fool or the fools that follow him?
The fools that follow him.
Well, we can't take those NPCs say seriously. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Yep.
I also want to make a point, guys. Something that I was big in our last podcast. That not every character needs to be addressed. Would you agree or disagree to tell a good story?
I agree.
Not really.
So-
I mean, not really. if you have like a long ongoing story, you pretty much don't need to address every character. I mean, Stephen King doesn't need to address every character, despite how expanded and included his multiverse.
Address like not. I wanted to make this point that with Obi-Wan, he didn't really need a full-on story arc until later on in the series, because in the prequel trilogy, because Qui-Gon was the mentor, was the main character, not the main character. Anakin was the main protagonist, but I mean, like, he was the you know what I mean.
Well, there's some people that claim that Obi-Wan should have been the protagonist of the prequels, but that's probably a subject we can tackle on later.
Yeah.
Speaking about Qui-Gon, has any of you people heard that the prequel haters claim that Qui-Gon is the worst Jedi ever? What are your thoughts on that?
We already talked about that the first episode, I think. So we'd be here forever. So we already addressed Qui-Gon.
Well, hold on. Worst? I never heard that criticism. Him claiming he's the worst Jedi ever. What?
I heard it from Len Carr. He said he was the worst Jedi ever.
What does he know? He hasn't. Okay, what does he know? He hasn't even read the EU. All he knows is the movie.
He's read the EU. He just doesn't really. He just cares more about the movies.
It's like, how is Qui-Gon the worst Jedi ever? It's like, if you want to talk about a terrible Jedi. Okay, if we're objectively a terrible Jedi, as much as I like this character, what about Mace Windu?
I knew you would say him.
Yep. Saw that coming.
Yeah, episode 3, he nearly looked like he was about to fucking tip to the dark side.
I mean,
he does practice Vapad, so you would expect the darkness in him.
Mm-hmm. But we shouldn't know that, because Vapad is EU.
That is EU, yeah.
Yeah, but even if you don't take that into account with Mace Windu, Mace Windu, he did, instead of waiting for Yoda and everyone to come back to confront Sidious, he just confronted him on his own with a bunch of Jedi that were ill-equipped to fight someone like Sidious.
Mm-hmm.
He should have waited for the whole Jedi Council rather than try to arrest Sidious.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how different that would have went.
But anyway, if you want to say that Qui-Gon's the worst Jedi ever, it's ridiculous, considering the fact that Qui-Gon represented what a Jedi is supposed to be in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Linkar's argument is that he's basically responsible for why the Jedi Order is extinct and why the Empire rose. That's pretty much
it. The fuck? That's retarded.
It is retarded.
It's retarded.
Are you
If
serious?
anything, that's more Obi-Wan's fault, because he couldn't really connect with Anakin and help him with his problems. And
I'd argue Darth Maul's the reason, because Darth Maul killed Qui-Gon.
Yeah, they fucked with the balance. Nice going, Maul.
Yep.
He mauled. He mauled.
Actually good going, Maul, because we wouldn't have a story.
That's true. But I would like to see an alternate timeline.
Can you please not come back anymore?
Yeah. TCW.
Do those people realize their precious original trilogy would have never happened if it wasn't for all those events?
Yes, but here's the thing. Doesn't anyone not realize that Ben Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn are a lot alike?
Uh-huh.
They act in similar ways. It's like, how is he the worst Jedi ever? By that logic, Obi-Wan is the worst Jedi ever.
Okay, so here's one last criticism for episode 1, and we're gonna make it fast. Okay, Valorum on the council with the trade routes when the Naboo arrived to Coruscant. He seemed like he was going to help the Naboo, and then the whole Senate just spits in his face. Uh-huh. This isn't a criticism. This is just something that some people found confusing.
Okay. Why?
Didn't understand how Valorum just spit in his face when Valorum was actually seeming like he was going to help the Naboo. You know what I mean? With getting the blockade and helping solving the invasion, and it looks like he was trying to get things done and try to settle people down, but the whole Senate erupts into hell.
Okay.
Yeah, but
what's the confusing part?
Yeah, but how is it confusing? Because this kind of shit happens in the real world all the time.
Uh-huh. Not to mention, before the Senate even started, we had Palpatine talking to Padme about the current situation with what was happening in the politics on Coruscant and why Ballroom could not really control the Senate Council. So there's that reason there, but apparently they didn't listen to it.
Yep, and people, like I said, are idiots. Unusual suspect made that point. Okay, so, and probably Ployget too. But, and, okay, I think that's the end of Phantom Menace. And we got it done in, like, literally almost, like, we are,
45.
like, a minute to spare. So, okay, so, Attack of the Clones, let's go. Okay. Anakin's vent to Padme after killing the Sand People.
People kind of criticize that. Yeah.
Like, this is where people really criticize Anakin for being quote unquote a whiny bitch.
Yeah. And what do you have to say about that, guys?
His mother died, for God's sake.
You know what?
I mean, he was being vengeful. I could probably understand the people's criticism for him acting psychotic, but not so much whiny. I mean, this is pretty much he's just really emotional. You got to understand that he's grew up in this monk life where he's supposed to control his emotions, and he doesn't know how to vent this out properly.
Not to mention, if you remember in episode 1, the Jedi stated that it would be better if he did not really have any actual relationships, you know, because if you have any attachments, it could lead to jealousy or maybe to anger or to fear, you know, which leads to the dark side. So
did you get that, Plinkett?
Plinkett, fucking idiot.
Well, I think Anakin venting is completely human.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
I mean, Anakin. You know, if you really think about it, as far as we know, this is Anakin's first real failure.
True.
And it hurt a lot. He lost his fucking mother. I keep having to point this out. How would you? Okay, OT fanboys. What if I told you? What if a killer came and killed your mother? What would you do? How would you react? What would you do? If you were at the same age as Anakin, maybe whatever age, if someone went up to your mother and sliced her throat open right in front of you, what would you do?
I wonder if they go ballistic and try to kill the murderer.
I would too. I would go ballistic and kill the murderer. I would. I seriously would.
Well, the Christian in me would say that I would try to stop him and try to make him atone. But the rest of me would want to beat the crap out of him.
I'd kill him. I'd go straight for the kill. I don't care.
Yeah, but okay, we're getting a little too dark here.
There's something else. It's like we have to keep in mind that she was held captive and tortured a lot, and she was defenseless. It's like she was being tortured by multiple sand people. It's like, well, I don't know how many who did the tormenting, but the point is she was defenseless, and so therefore it's like. Therefore, Anakin's position is understandable. And we have to keep in mind that, you see, Anakin felt bad about what he did afterwards. It's like, it's like he had remorse as opposed to later on in the next movie.
He did say, I hate them, though, but he did.
Yeah, there is that.
He did say that.
There is that, yes.
He was traumatized that he killed.
I killed them. I killed them all. They're dead. Every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women. And the children, too. They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
Yeah, that definitely was venting out.
It's sort of remorseful, and it's sort of a mixture between remorseful and he feels good about it at the same time because he avenged his mother. But even that's not enough to fill.
And that's rather impressive because of especially by Hayden Christensen's facial performance. You can really tell that added layers to his character.
Yeah, but people still criticize that shit.
Yeah, these are the same people that praise Kylo Ren for being such a deep character.
Kylo Ren is about as deep as a 1 foot puddle. Not 1 foot puddle, a 1 inch puddle.
Kylo Ren is just whiny.
That's the definition of being whiny.
Kylo Ren.
Yes, Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Another criticism of this part of Anakin venting to Padme, they criticize it. It shows Anakin being a whiny bitch. I mean, that's not what Vader is. Vader was a strong, impotent, badass motherfucker. And now I see him being this whiny ass bitch from years ago when he was a Jedi? Oh my god. So Vader's no longer the badass I knew about. Star Wars.
As the concept of character arcs never.
So here, wait, okay.
But Anakin represents the negative character arc. I mean, we're supposed to see Anakin, slowly fall to the dark side. Well, it's like, what the hell were they expecting from Anakin? To always be Darth Vader, but kind of a badass?
Yes.
That's what Star Wars only was thinking.
Yeah.
So they wanted Han Solo with Force powers?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Han to be Vegeta.
Well, there is this one quote by George Lucas about how he said, "We can't have a monster becoming a monster. That's not a story." The point of that is how a true story has a character arc. You start out good, you go bad, or you go bad and then you go good. It's all about a character's development.
I wanted to make also a point you guys know who Kevin Smith is, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The guy who played Ares?
He's I think he's a full-on reviewer, I'm not sure, but he loves the prequels, actually. Fun fact, he loves the prequels, and he's in his 40s. And he actually was in The Legacy Revealed, and he stated and defended Anakin, saying, "Oh, he's so whiny. Why would the most he actually was defending it. It's like, and this is what he said: that's how the galaxy's greatest villain would start off. Would be he would start as a bitchin' teenager. That's how they start off as. That's how villains start off as."
He isn't too far off.
That's how he defended it in The Legacy Revealed, and I agree with him. It's true. Villains start off as bitch and whiny teenagers, or they start off that way.
Yeah, but why do these people love Kylo Ren? I mean, this guy's 30 years old and he's still a whiny little bitch.
Which is hilarious.
Plus, also, Dark Synovia, in one of your videos, you said that Kylo Ren still hasn't grown any BALLS even when he was 30 years old.
Just say balls.
I avoid profanity and stuff like that, so you'll understand.
Shit, okay. Fuck, damn, son of a bitch, pussy-looking, cock-sucking faggot. Every bad word in the book.
You forgot the C word.
There's all the bad words in the book, and I don't care.
Yeah, which all apply to Kylo Ren.
Yes, indeed.
The new Disney princess.
Make it official.
We need to put a picture of that, by the way. Him with the other Disney princesses.
Know what's funny, guys? Wreck-It Ralph 2 was actually going to make fun of Kylo Ren, but Disney stopped because they didn't want the film to look less intimidating.
All right, okay, I think it's time we move on. Okay. I think we should also... Okay, so here's one criticism from episode 2. Padme's assassination and how it was only at the beginning and not throughout the movie. That's kind of like what I pointed. There wasn't any more attempts from other bounty hunters or anything, or whatever the case may be, or any more or an invasion or whatever the case, with droids or whatever the case may be, or that's what they complained about. What would you guys say about that?
That's ridiculous. Padme's life was always in danger throughout the movie. There's a reason why she had to hide on her home planet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to mention she was being guarded personally by a Jedi, and that would make it even more difficult for assassins to get close enough to make an attempt on her life without blowing their cover.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, plus there's also the thing about how the Lake Country was said to be isolated in the movie. I believe it was Padme who said it was very isolated.
Yeah, she did. I remember that. And not to mention, if we had assassins just constantly coming after her, all that action would take away from,
The characters arcs and
building
the
their relationship.
Yeah, we'd have a fucking mess called The Last Jedi, The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Where they focus more on action with characters.
Yeah, plus it would burden of the actual the progress of the politics where Palpatine would become Supreme Chancellor with ultimate power.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, these people complain about not enough action, yet they love Empire Strikes Back, which has almost none.
That's hypocritical.
Yeah, but it had characters and feels.
Yeah, they pick with the prequels, motherfucker. All right, next one. The balcony scene and the fireplace scene.
AKA the sand line and the freaking fire scene.
Oh,
We already sort of defended this a little bit, but this is one of the most ridiculous criticisms. These are the most big criticized in episode 2. And to be honest with you, it's kind of hard to defend, so I'll let you guys take this one.
Okay, so for starters, what are they exactly criticizing of those scenes?
They said the whole scenes are freaking... they all say the whole scene is like cringeworthy, and yeah, it's just the romance stuff. And I'm just like, it kind of applies to what we said in the last episode of how Anakin's awkward and he doesn't know how to talk to a woman, so he uses poetic stuff. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's kind of makes sense because George Lucas is trying to take inspiration from William Shakespeare's work, which has different dialogues and contexts than modern English.
Mm-hmm. And
also, people claim, okay, Anakin and Padme's romance is cringeworthy, but Han and Leia's isn't.
They claim
it can't be cringeworthy because it's Han. He's a badass.
Han and Leia's romance, as I said before, is freaking can be summed up in this nutshell. I hate you. I hate you too. I hate you more. I hate you more too. Oh, I suddenly love you. Oh, I still hate you. I love you. I know. That's your romance in a fucking nutshell.
It's pretty much Star Wars version of Vegeta and Bulma.
That's something.
As if their son didn't end up like a little.
Speaking of,
don't you bash my Vegeta.
Lol. Anyway, so this would have been a good time to have Anomaly in here because he actually discussed the balcony and the fireplace scenes in which he basically said that as long as the dialogue and how the actors executed it stayed true to their characters, it actually was believable, made sense. Now, when it definitely got a little bit way too much, he argued it wasn't the fireplace scene because for some reason Anakin was starting to raise his voice and kind of monologuing for himself instead of actually having some sort of dialogue between Padme, in which you just see Padme just silent there, seeing him
and
kind
breathing
of
is hot, and breathing and seeing her breathe is so hot.
yeah, I remember watching that video a few days ago.
And fireplace makes it hot too, so pun intended.
Lol. Anyway, so that's kind of what he mentioned in regards to those scenes. That as long as they stay true to the character and to the story, and also to how it was written, in terms of how to portray the characters, then it's not exactly let's just say out of the context of the universe or Star Wars itself.
Yeah, could have been done better, but it was fine. So next criticism, we got to get this one fast.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, so let's. I think that's the end of episode 2, but belated media said Anakin's a killer for killing sand people. Okay, I want to make this clear. Fucking sand people are savages. I don't blame people of Tatooine for wanting to kill them. Hell, let me tell you something. Okay, the first thing I did when I first played KOTOR 1, I slaughtered the whole camp.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my first playthrough. But ever since then, it hit me with consequences. Basically, when sand people kept attacking me in the desert, and I was like, okay, so that's why you make peace with them.
Not to mention, you wouldn't also have HK-47.
Yeah, Hey, by that logic, every SWTOR player is a killer for killing sand people. They're the
actually,
ones that part.
Actually, I had HK-47 blast him, actually, General. So,
lol.
he just said what?
Yeah, people could call Anakin a killer. What about Luke? He killed thousands of innocent people by blowing up the Death Star. Was every member of the Imperial Army who worked at the Death Star evil? No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we're gonna criticize Anakin for being a murderer for killing sand people, why not criticize Luke for murdering thousands of people on the Death Star? But by the way, I love Luke Skywalker, and I'm just if you're going to use that same logic.
Oh my god! There was another thing I wanted to bring up about.
Or what about Kylo Ren? I mean, Kylo Ren has no problem murdering, billions of people.
Exactly.
But he gets a pass because he's the villain, supposedly.
Or no, not villain, sympathetic villain.
Yeah.
There was also one more point that I wanted to make, and we have time. About Anakin being whiny that I forgot that I wanted to say. I love Luke Skywalker, okay, guys? I hate to say this, but you know what? That moment when Anakin was venting about his mother, I thought it was better portrayed and showcased more how human Anakin is compared to how Luke was when he lost Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
What I don't get is why weren't people expecting Anakin to not be whiny? I mean, for some fuck's sake, Luke was whiny in episode 4 and a little bit in episode 5.
Actually, he was really whiny in episode 5 because he was kind of complaining about the training a little bit and complaining about wanting to train, and he did it right in front of a grandmaster, and that is something that I can't forget. That as much as I love Luke Skywalker, it's if you OT fanboys are gonna call Anakin whiny, sorry, Anakin's a little whinier.
Don't you mean Luke?
I'm sorry, Luke. Sorry.
There's also like that. Pardon me. There's also a thing about how Anakin he responds to the death of his mother with anger, and he goes after the Sand People and he vents about it to Padme. But with Luke, it's like how in the movies we never see him say to Darth Vader, it's like you had my aunt and uncle killed. It's but he does talk about he told me enough. He told me you killed him. Luke's father, but he never talks about Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru again in the movies.
Exactly, and same with even Obi-Wan as well.
Yeah, Obi-Wan too. Yes, of course.
See, that's kind of what I made the point. Why?
Well, I made this point in an earlier podcast. Luke gets a lot of his traits from Padme.
True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
if you want to,
sorry.
I was going to mention that it would explain why he's not necessarily always just like his father. Anakin, why he's into alike to him, similar.
He can be angry like his father, though. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
And that's another point I want to make is that Yoda said in Empire Strikes Back that
much anger in him, like his father.
I mean, was indeed angry, just like his father. Like to Luke when he was talking to Obi-Wan the Ghost. So he's.
I cannot teach him. The boy has no patience.
You will learn patience.
Exactly. So that really showcased that Anakin was like that. So, OT fanboys.
You know what's actually interesting? If Luke and Leia's positions were reversed, Leia would have failed.
You think so?
Yes, she's too much like Anakin. And her.
I could kind of see that because a few hours ago I saw a video where it had a what if Luke and Leia switched places. If Luke went to Alderaan and Leia went to Tatooine, I don't think she would have been that much successful because she's very rebellious and headstrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of like
I can see why she could fail.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think this is on purpose, honestly. George Lucas is not as stupid like people think he is. Because Luke and Leia's personality traits, they do have the traits of their parents. It's just not in the way you would think. Luke has his mother's traits. Leia has her father's traits.
But Bandit Incorporated wanted it to be the other way around in his alternate prequel trilogy.
Yep.
There's even the thing about how sons focus on their mothers while daughters focus on their fathers.
Well, maybe in a future podcast we could do a what if.
Okay.
More detail.
Okay.
That'd be like that'll be a lot of fun to talk about, like what if Qui-Gon lived or something like that. I would love to.
No, I'm talking about what if Luke and Leia's positions are reversed and so we could do it. It'd be whatever. Let's move on.
Yeah,
we're getting off subject.
Now, okay, time to get to Revenge of the Sith now. Oh yes. Okay.
Time to defend my favorite movie.
Hold on, Kyle. I think we should let King speak for this one. Because he hasn't had as many opportunities to speak in this podcast.
Who hasn't?
King.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's let him do this part.
Okay. All right, but first I have a criticism to bring up, and I'll let him talk about it. Okay. First of all, Anakin versus Dooku.
What about it?
How Anakin was able to beat Dooku. That is a criticism.
A few people criticize that.
What's wrong with
Well,
that?
he's gotten more experience thanks to fighting the Clone Wars, and if you want to add it, the EU, his fighting style is practically the antithesis of what Dooku's is. Not to mention, Anakin is younger and stronger in the Force, so it would make sense that he was able to beat Dooku.
Not to mention that Anakin did draw on his anger to defeat Dooku during that duel.
Yeah, even Dooku was telling him to use his anger in the fight, so he pretty much brought it on himself.
But most of that stuff is implied in the novel, not the movie, though.
Well, actually, the movie, when they're clashing lightsabers,
Dooku
says,
sense great fear in you, Skywalker. You have hate, you have anger, but you don't use them.
And then you could see his face, and you could totally tell he was literally drawing upon it, and his swings were looking out of like he was drawing upon his anger. But then again, you have these people will counter by saying that, well, Dooku's experienced with the dark side, so how come he didn't win?
Yeah, but I have something though. Okay, Dooku is like 80 years old. He can't fight for very long, even with the Force. He gets tired quicker than Anakin does.
Force can only do so much.
Yeah, but he's not drawn because he doesn't draw on the dark side as much as someone like Darth Sidious.
Sorry. I was gonna mention that speaking of Sidious, several minutes later in the same movie, he says to General Grievous that
soon I will have a new apprentice, one far younger and more powerful.
I'll just put that quote in the video. So
so that means that Sidious knew that Anakin was more powerful than Dooku, and Dooku had to go.
Yeah, Dooku was just a placeholder. I mean, in both the EU and Disney canon, they both acknowledge that. I mean, they pretty much acknowledged that Sidious only kept Dooku around as a placeholder until Anakin was ready to convert to the dark side.
Yep.
Okay, so, but this also relates to somewhat to Luke versus Vader and Return of the Jedi as well.
Okay, which one?
Like how? So it relates to how basically, then how did Luke beat Vader? Because Vader was also experienced with the dark side, and he was younger than Dooku.
Same.
I think we should get in more. I think we should not touch on this for too long because if we're going to defend Return of the Jedi in the future, we're going to want to get into the subject in more detail. I think we should cover this briefly.
All right. Yeah. As we said, Luke drew upon his anger, and Vader didn't expect it, so he just went full on ballistic. So,
not to mention, Darth Vader was holding back. He didn't want to kill Luke.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you could also add the whole cybernetics and psychological hindrances.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, Luke was actually was gaining more experience, was actually a little more experience, more trained.
Yeah, true.
Vader was fighting eternally as well.
Yes, hence the line by Luke Skywalker to Vader. He says,
"Your thoughts betray you, Father. I feel the good in you, the conflict."
There is no conflict.
It'd be really cool if we actually create a lightsaber duel between Anakin and Darth Vader, and then simultaneously have Luke and Vader fight just to do something kind of a little unique. Because as far as I'm concerned, the final battle was not between Luke and Vader; it was between Anakin and Vader.
Yes.
Funny fact, you could do that in video games. So,
episode 3 video
I
games
did that a
specifically.
lot when on the Revenge of the Sith game. That it was so much fun.
It was.
No, I'm talking about if you know how we see fan films. I like to see a fan film, of Anakin and Vader dueling inside Vader's mind.
The closest.
"Oh,
we
that'd be
got to
cool.
that-
Very cool."
The
I would love to
closest.
see that. Yes.
Oh yes.
That would be.
The closest we got to that is one of the superpower beatdowns that has Vader against Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. And there's this one section in which Gandalf apparently transforms into a young Anakin Skywalker and they fight it out. That's the closest we'll get to that.
Well, anyway, okay. Well, we're off subject. Let's go back.
all right. So next, I think it's time for the next criticism. Actually,
Okay, like I said, I think we should let King take for a lot of this portion because he's barely had a chance to, give his take.
All right, so I think it's okay. So then let's go into a little bit more detail on the lightsaber duel of Revenge of the Sith, because we didn't really touch upon about the powerful emotion about it and whatnot of like what it truly meant. It was a battle between brothers for once, and it was a duel of literally the fate of the whole galaxy was at stake at the end of the movie. So King,
Yes.
so we'll let you say your part.
Anyway, the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin is my favorite lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars. It's just not just because of how the emotional impact of it, but how it shaped the entire galaxy, as you said. So, and it's also one of the best choreographed duels, bar none. I mean, even better than the one in Phantom Menace, in my opinion.
Ooh, I could argue. I could argue that too, actually.
No comment.
Speaking of the choreography, that's the thing that they hate a lot about the lightsaber duel.
We covered that. We covered that in the last episode.
But I want to hear
In short, they hate the choreography, and that's why Disney canon has lightsaber duels that look like something anybody could do in their backyard.
Well,
that's a good one.
Oh, we should give King more of a chance to speak.
Yeah, I want to hear his thoughts on that.
Yeah, but I also like how strategic the fight was. I mean, you wouldn't have noticed it at first because Anakin is just so kinetic and dominating towards the fight, but you can definitely tell there's Obi-Wan still has some control because he's basically being on the defense, which is his primary fighting style, and it's basically that he just wants to wait for Anakin to be brought into a position which would be more favorable and wait for him to make a mistake, and that pretty much led to the high ground thing.
well,
you can notice
that's due to the freaking like I said, his arrogance. That's why he lost. That's why Anakin lost.
Yeah, and even still, there was a chance that Anakin could have won if he just jumped like a couple of feet higher and dodged Obi-Wan's lightsaber. Then he could have killed Obi-Wan, and then it pretty much play out like the alternative ending in Revenge of the Sith game.
I still think that if Anakin wasn't too arrogant, I think he would. Or Obi-Wan didn't say anything, their fight would have continued. Like it would have just kept going and going until both of them tired out, and it'd be like kind of like one of those anime fights where you see them breathe. Like a good example would this be with Ichigo versus Byakuya in the Soul Society arc of Bleach. Ichigo and Byakuya were so freaking beat up and exhausted to the point where they're like, okay, so one last final attack and then we're done. It's like, okay. And
I think a more recent comparison would be like the fight between Dante and Virgil when they went to the underworld.
In what?
In Devil May Cry 5.
Dark Shinobi knows about that.
Yep, I do.
I haven't played Devil May Cry ever, so I can't comment.
Well,
you gotta play those games. They're really good.
Okay, well,
If
in
I have
my
money.
opinion, here's how I think it would have gone. Obi-Wan was on the verge of losing. The high ground was his last-ditch effort to defeat Anakin. Because if the fight went on even a little bit longer, he would have been tired out, and Anakin would have done a killing blow. It would have not have continued for much longer.
That is true.
I agree.
True.
Yeah, Anakin would eventually won because he's still younger and more powerful, so he has more stamina to draw.
Not to mention, if you notice throughout the entire fight, you notice that Anakin is actually a lot more aggressive than Obi-Wan, even to the point that Obi-Wan is like kind of struggling at times to keep up with Anakin. There's 2 times that Anakin actually manages to punch the shit out of his face. If you remember, when they open the door going to the balcony, Anakin like punched him in the face, and Anakin's like just going, "I'm gonna fucking kill you, fucking bitch." And then when they're in the bridge, like he once again punched the shit out of him, and then that's where they clash the lightsaber. Well, not the lightsabers, but definitely their hands. So it definitely seemed like Obi-Wan was struggling.
I mean, there was so much ferocity into his text for a moment. I thought he was actually practicing Juyo instead of Jimso.
That's a EU topic, so we can't bring up those styles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just can't help it.
You have to avoid them. We have to avoid EU.
No EU. Yeah, no EU. That's the big rule. So that is true.
Just the movies on their own.
Yes.
Movies on
It's
their own.
fine. It's fine. It's a simple mistake. Anyway, continue.
Okay. So yeah, that was that. Anything else, or move to the next one, which we have to cover.
Yeah. Okay, so let me look at my list also.
The next thing is the Aftermath episode 3. We strongly forgot that.
Yeah, okay.
I can't believe we forgot this line.
Darth Vader's.
I love that scene. It actually helps humanize Darth Vader. I mean, this is probably the most emotional moment in his life. That's when he became Darth Vader.
I guess so. Though, if you ask me, if we got to go objective, I think George could have done it better. He could have showed that anger a lot better. Probably not have Anakin say anything, or maybe he's saying no while at the same time force pushing the shit out of the chair. Something that just no, screaming it out like just to the screaming to the dark room.
I think.
So maybe like pull something like something out of the Force Unleashed.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Or something like, or maybe think about this, like him having a little bit of more restraint after he breaks himself free. It showcases like the shred of good of Anakin left in him that will be dormant for the next 20 years.
I guess so, though when he hears that Padme dead, he definitely is going to have a rage. A fucking rage.
Well, in my opinion, I think Vader should just screamed and not said anything.
Yeah.
Instead of scream of anguish. I think it's okay. Don't get me wrong. James Earl Jones is great, but I can't take Vader seriously when I hear him yelling no. I think it would have been better if he just screamed.
Yeah.
Or did what in Lego Star Wars he did. He was just destroying everything and not saying anything and just looking pissed.
Okay.
Well, I personally don't have a problem with the no, what he said in Revenge of the Sith, and I don't have a problem with saying it in Return of the Jedi either.
I don't either. I don't mind at all, actually, but I can agree with some criticisms, like with that, like if he just screamed instead, but I see it more like the shred of good of Anakin left inside of him that will go be dormant for the next 20 years, 10, 20 years.
But we're talking about execution of the scene, not what it means. So,
okay,
and if you ask me about execution,
I don't think it was badly executed, though I would have preferred if Vader screamed in anguish rather than having him yell no.
Yeah, would have been better. I have to agree there.
Because okay, think about we know what he's thinking. That's why I'm saying he didn't need to verbally say it. We know what he's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Really
Just like we didn't need George Lucas adding the no, thing in Return of the Jedi
in the 2011 Blu-ray.
Yeah.
George should have left that scene alone.
Mm-hmm.
I still love George, and I don't mind the edits.
But that's a topic for another day.
Like I said, new can of worms. But what about in relation to Luke Snow in Empire Strikes Back?
Totally different.
Like people, like there are some defenses with the Darth Vader Snow that says that. Well, my defense that it mirrors Luke in Empire Strikes Back. It's like the same sort of reaction of failure.
No. I don't see them equally. No, absolutely not. There are two different contexts and two different reasons why Anakin and Luke are screaming no. Totally different.
Luke, because he's horrified that he's related to a monster. Vader, because of Padme, and in the realization that he lost everything and all of his effort has been in vain.
Exactly.
It's sort of same kind of trauma where hopelessness and
could be the one reacts with a no by destroying everything, while the other one is in. I
feel like this no thing is more of a mixed bag. I think it's a double-edged sword. It can be good and it can also be bad.
It just depends on how it's executed.
That's a good point. It depends. I would say it depends on you or the viewer. Like, let's ask the audience for this in the comment section. What do you guys think of the Darth Vader no? Like, can you explain it could have been done better, or do you like the way it was? And some prequel haters say it destroys the whole movie.
Okay, if they do that,
one scene. Oh lordy.
Yeah, these OT fanboys say that it ruins the whole movie and ruins Vader. I'm just like,
I'd rather watch the no scene for 2 hours straight than watch The Last Jedi.
I was gonna mention that I'd rather watch the no scene than Jake Alien milking the alien's tits.
I'd rather watch the no scene than The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi.
I'd rather watch the no scene than watch Finn say, "Let's go, Chrome Dome."
I'd rather watch the no scene than read any Disney canon novels.
Oh, something. Okay. Anyway, so.
But yeah, like I said, it's a debatable. Like we have two differing opinions here, so I think it's really debatable. But I can agree with the points against it.
Which goes to show Plinkett fanboys that yes, we may agree with most things regarding how we defend the prequels, but we do have diverse opinions here. Like the no scene, for example, not all of us agree. Actually, like it. So there you go.
Yeah.
And also, to OT fanboys, does this scene really break Revenge of the Sith for you?
No.
Does it ruin Vader?
Well, these are the same people who think that one movie can ruin their childhood, so...
like The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi kind of could, to some extent, compared to the prequels.
That's a different topic for a different day.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the no scene. Now let's talk about the rest of the ending of episode 3.
I feel like we need to get into more of like, does this really ruin Vader? And let's explain why it doesn't.
Okay. So, what do you guys?
Because Vader was put into the suit, just put into the suit, and the first time you've seen Darth Vader since if you were just watched Return of the Jedi or whatever, or like last time you saw Vader was in Return of the Jedi, you know what I mean? Or Star Wars was, or in the movies was Return of the Jedi, or if you read any EU comics.
Whatever, we're going by the movies.
Yeah, movies only. So they expect him to do something badass, like something badass. I guess that's where the fan fiction in Disney canon has him choke Palpatine. By the way,
Wait, that actually happened?
Yes, it's canon.
Yes, it did.
What? How?
Yeah. I'll show you privately while Cal talks about it.
But yeah, he force chokes Vader, and then I'm sorry, Vader force chokes Palpatine, and then Palpatine then force lightnings him. By the way, which by the way is also bullshit.
So bullshit.
For goodness sake! I mean, shouldn't Sidious have a force shield? I mean, to protect himself from kind of things like that.
It's just Disney Star Wars are so fucking retarded.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, guys. Let's unless we have nothing else to say, let's get to the end because we're pressed for time.
I will say this: if you wanna know more about the Disney canon bullshit, go watch our last video, one of our last videos of why Disney canon's bullshit. So go watch that video. King, if you haven't seen that video, go watch it.
Oh no, I've seen it. It's just kind of been a while since I've actually viewed the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but okay, so next on the agenda. Yeah, it doesn't ruin Vader, okay? He was just put in the suit, and it'll take years for him to develop more as the dark side goes on. So.
Okay, I don't understand. Okay, they say it ruins Vader, yet they have no problem with Kylo Ren as a character at all. Despite the fact that Episode 8 ruined what little that was good about Kylo Ren. I'm sorry. I know I brought up the prequels, sequels in every one of these episodes, but it's kind of hard not to because it's the same people that let Kylo Ren slide, yet give Anakin and Darth Vader shit.
I mean, according to them, Kylo Ren is supposed to be what Anakin should have been.
Oh, don't give me that crap.
Oh Lord.
You mean a psychopath that completely manipulates people and uses them and lies about their family origin?
Well, hell, hold on. Let's wait until episode 9 till we know that he's full of shit.
Well, I'm not watching it. Disney canon can go fuck itself.
Hey, I never said anything about watching it. We just gotta wait for someone else to do it for us.
No. I'm saying. I mean, how is Kylo Ren so you want Anakin to be a manipulator that manipulates people around him? You want him to be a fucking psychopath that manipulates Padme?
Oh God.
Ew, God.
Palpatine is the true evil manipulator. Let him be the devil.
Yeah.
It's like
Palpatine's job.
I mean, Anakin is like if it weren't, I'm excluding EU Luke, is my favorite character in the whole saga.
I mean, they probably also want to expect Anakin to take his tantrum out on objects.
All right, so like I said,
what did you say
this time about? Oh, sorry. What did you say, King? Taking his anger out on objects. That's what he means. But,
do we have anything else to address?
Yeah, we do actually. I feel like we did defend that on its own merit with Revenge of the Sith. That's because we keep bringing up the sequels. Sorry, Jordan. I know we love to bash the sequels, but I feel like we need to defend it on its own merit. There.
Okay, I'm trying, Kyle, but it's
hard not to bash the sequels, considering
that. I'm not. Okay, I'm trying. Okay, you gotta understand the logic of coming here, Kyle. They trash Anakin Skywalker, yet they let Kylo Ren have a free pass for being objectively more whining.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention many other criticisms on the prequels. They do not whatsoever bring them to the sequels, so they're being hypocritical.
And not to mention, okay, yes, we may maybe do it as a joke for the sequels, but here's the thing. Hold on. When the sequel fanboys defend the sequels, they bash the prequels nonstop.
Yes.
We don't do that for the prequels. For the most part, we defended the prequels on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
We don't need to trash the sequels to make the prequels look good. The sequels do that to themselves.
Yeah.
That is true. Yes, I was just saying that because I feel like we just need to elaborate a little more on this one because I actually have a friend who actually in real life who has criticized this scene for saying that it ruined Vader for him.
The nose scene?
Yeah, the nose scene. And this is before The Last Jedi came out. And he hates The Last Jedi, by the way.
Yeah, but how can one scene ruin Darth Vader? Darth Vader in the original trilogy is still a badass.
I think it's because, oh god, he did a completely display of shame or something. What was the word? God damn it!
Humanish.
Something like that. Back before the OT, so therefore it makes Vader kind of a whiny bitch or something like that.
First off, Darth Vader, when he first is Vader, of course he's going to be that way. He's not fully Vader yet. He's still Anakin.
Exactly.
And
I just didn't know how to explain it.
People just don't go from point. Don't. It's like, hey, I lost Padme. Oh, I'm gonna suddenly go kill a bunch of people for no reason. That's not what happened.
Ironic right there. Ironic.
There's also the thing about how between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, there are many years between that time, and so therefore, during that time, Vader would go even darker and darker and darker to the bad guy we know in the original trilogy.
He's more machine. I'm going to put...
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
Yeah, but Darth Vader, his anger... Darth Vader... His hate is he doesn't hate anyone more. He hates himself more than anything. That's where most of his anger comes from.
For failing, yeah.
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 Exactly.
I mean, it's ridiculous how ignorant these people are.
It is.
Yeah.
They only care about like the surface stuff of Star Wars, but they don't care about the nuances, even if you just look at the movies.
All right. I think we made our point now. All right. I think it's time to get to the rest of the aftermath.
Oh, yes.
What's the next topic?
Well, it's the same. It's the rest of the aftermath, yes.
Oh, yes.
So, any criticisms people have brought up to the ending of episode 3 besides Blink It?
Well, I don't know anything about a criticism about the ending, but I do remember a criticism about the whole Obi-Wan versus General Grievous fight because they feel that General Grievous should have easily...
We already did that. We can't do stuff we missed. We can't do stuff we already did. But
oh, my bad.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's a 4-hour video. I don't blame you. It's cool.
Okay.
I actually enjoy listening to long videos like that, but that's just me.
But
the thing is that like another thing to bring. I
actually do have.
Someone's phone is ringing.
Not mine.
Wait, wasn't there a criticism about Jar Jar being in
already tackled that?
Already tackled that. We have an outline for this.
We stick to the outline. So
outline.
Anyway, so I actually have 2 criticisms of episode 3 because they definitely go more to the ending. I'm from Star Wars only. He says that the Padme dying scene is very stupid and it should have not been there whatsoever because it's just so fucking confusing that she died from losing the will to live.
We already talked about the death.
Yeah. It's just...
I mean, and even still, it's not unheard of for people to lose the will to live. I mean, I've seen people actually do that in my life.
I mean, think about how I can't bring. I'm bringing this up again. The Republic became a fascist empire. The man that she loved, force choked her. Essentially, Anakin became a stranger. It's like all this stuff happening, and she doesn't know how to handle it. So I think her giving up the will to live isn't unnatural. It's happened in real life.
Yep.
Yeah. There's also like this example from U.S. history about how there was this Native American named Joseph, and how like his people had sustained losses like because America was expanding westwards, and so therefore his people were being like mistreated and stuff. It's like, and they lost their land, and so then he died of a broken heart.
Yeah.
And wasn't there some sort of theory that it was actually Darth Sidious that Sidious killed?
I brought that up.
That's a theory which isn't.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. I don't believe it, especially because it involves midichlorian manipulation. I don't think Sidious' ability to manipulate midichlorians was on that level. Maybe it was like Darth Plagueis I could buy, but not Sidious.
Well, I actually think it's possible Anakin could have done it without him realizing it.
Yeah, it could have been.
Force absorbed.
But then again, theories, I don't consider theories canon, so...
And we can't use theories or the EU or freaking other stuff to back up our claims.
I mean, I'm not backing it up. I'm just kind of bringing it up because I remember some people just trying to make sense of this scene, even though it already makes.
And maybe just George Lucas set it up for people to fill the gaps in ourselves. Maybe that's why. It's unheard of for writers to do that. It's actually sometimes it could be a strength and a weakness at the same time because
I think for this case,
don't understand stories.
I think that's
what Akira Toriyama does in Dragon Ball sometimes.
No.
Anyway.
Kyle. I mean,
what?
There's nothing wrong with leaving things open. I mean, it's like
exactly.
It's like Yoda's race. That's just one of the examples. I don't want to know the name of his race. I like to think of Yoda's. I like to think of Yoda's race being, ancient force beings that had a low vitality rate. That there's never been that many of his race, and by the time at the time of the prequels, Yoda was one of the last of his race. That there were so few of them that there was never a name for his race.
Reminds me of the either the Koreans from Mass Effect or the Drell from Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Or Frieza's race from the Dragon Ball franchise. So there's so few of them. I'm just using it as an example, Kyle. We don't need a name for every race. And
I know.
Fiction.
I know. I'm just bringing up Dragon Ball is making me itch angry.
We'll leave that for later.
Yeah, but Kyle, we're using examples that sometimes it's not. It's like these people complain when something's explained. They complain when something is explained. Okay, there's the criticism of General Putta. Episode 3 being rushed in order to have it finish the trilogy and connect to A New Hope. I don't see Revenge of the Sith as being rushed at all.
Oh yes, Star Wars only said that. Apparently, him and what? Him and a few others have claimed that Episode 3 was rushed as to try to finish the entire trilogy and to somehow connect it to A New Hope.
How was it rushed?
Did he explain why?
He just kind of said it, that he didn't want it to go in detail because he was going to treading old ground.
He would what?
I've heard people say that Revenge of the Sith is too long. So was it rushed or is it too long? Make up your mind, people.
I mean, how is the very fact that George Lucas managed to end the trilogy the way he did is fucking amazing. Every other person that would have done what George Lucas did would have failed miserably. The fact that Revenge of the Sith turned out to be as good as it is a miracle.
Yep.
I mean, we want to talk about rushed. Let's look at both sequel films. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm bringing this up because it's relevant.
Dude, I don't mind it. Bring him up.
The Force Awakens is rushed. The Force Awakens doesn't give the audience any time to breathe and actually understand what's happening in the galaxy at large. The Last Jedi is rushed. We don't spend any time with any character or any of the events to digest what's going on. So much shit is happening that by the time the movie is over, we don't even remember anything that has happened.
And plus, a lot of the things in the sequels rely on extreme convenience. I mean, just look at Poe and Finn crash landing on Jakku, and they just so happen to land in the same area that's relatively close to where Rey and Baby-8 are.
Okay, and compare this. Okay, the prequel trilogy. You don't need to read a bunch of books, which we'll elaborate later on, to understand what's going on in the movie. The sequel trilogy has so little story that you need to read a cyclopedia in order to understand a tenth of what is going on. The very fact that anyone says, unless you could back it up why Revenge of the Sith is rushed, you should just shut the fuck up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right. So I think we can now get to the prequel trilogy as a whole criticisms. Or was there any more general?
Well, there is one question, but I think it kind of relates to your thesis. So we'll leave it.
Okay.
Hold on,
So which of that?
what about Star Wars' only final thing?
Yeah, that's what I said. It kind of relates to the thesis, though. Well, a little bit, not all of it. That he.
All right. All right, so we're gonna start this one now. Okay, we're gonna be timing ourselves for at least an hour. So, hopefully we get younger. Okay, so prequel trilogy as a whole. So these are criticisms for the whole prequel trilogy. Okay, acting, dialogue, and line delivery.
One
the
of
big
the
ones.
biggest criticisms.
Oh my god, was every moment poorly acted?
I don't know.
Was all the dialogue in all three prequels bad?
No.
Was all the line delivery in all three prequels bad?
No.
Hell no.
Exactly.
No.
So they're cherry picking the things that they don't like.
And what about some of the awkward lines and awkward delivery in the original trilogy? And don't you deny the original trilogy, fanboys. I've seen the original trilogy. I know them.
Yeah, there's plenty of awkward dialogue in there.
A New Hope has the worst acting of all the original 6 films. Like the only actor that was good in the original trilogy, and I'm gonna talk about the first movie. I mean, was Harrison Ford. Forgot the guy who played Tarkin, and Allen Guinness.
What about James Earl Jones?
Yeah, him too.
The guy who plays Tarkin is Peter Cushing.
Yeah,
Peter Cushing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's like
that
okay. James Earl Jones. I'm not. He's a voice. He's a voice actor for Darth in that movie, not an actor.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he was great. But I'm just saying that but there's only like 4 actors that were competent. I mean, Mark Hamill in A New Hope. You know,
he was inexperienced.
Wasn't that his first movie?
Yeah.
And not to mention Carrie Fisher, she's never been a good actress.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say this. As much as I love Carrie Fisher, she's not a good actress.
What the hell was with that British accent she was doing anyway?
Yeah, in the original.
There's something I want to bring up, guys. Since we did this with Attack of the Clones, I feel like we need to do it again. We need to have 5 minutes of quiet time for Carrie Fisher again, because she's
1 minute or 30 seconds.
Okay. I have nothing against Carrie Fisher.
Okay, so let's we all love Carrie Fisher, but let's give her 1 minute of silence.
Yeah, 3 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
You know, Kyle, we could have you could have easily edited that in the video. We didn't have to do it for a whole minute.
No, Kyle, you keep that. That's more respect than what Disney can give with that Women's of the Galaxy book.
Oh God.
I have more respect for people than people realize. So, and yet I hate the whole human race.
Okay. Well, okay. I have nothing against Carrie Fisher. I'm just saying that if you compare her to other actors at the time, she's not that good of an actor. Yet no one criticizes.
We're sorry.
No one criticizes. no one criticizes Carrie Fisher for her bad act in the original trilogy. Yet everyone criticizes Hayden Christensen, Natalie Portman. Yet they let her and Mark Hamill have a free pass. I mean, the best of the three actors was Harrison Ford. Let's be real. He's without Harrison Ford. I don't think the original trilogy would have been as successful as it is. That's just a fact that no one can deny.
Yes.
Actually, at this point, that no other actor would have actually made it successful. I mean, Harrison Ford is, even though Luke Skywalker is the main character, Harrison Ford is such a great actor that I just don't see the movies working without him.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
I mean,
like, what are some bad dialogue in the original trilogy besides A New Hope?
I think Jedi bad on the outside.
I actually think Empire had the worst dialogue of the original.
Ooh, those are fighting words there, Dark Zenobia.
Dislikes.
But there was also a dialogue exchange in Return of the Jedi that I think was pretty meh.
Which one?
The one where Vader and Luke are on the catwalk, where they're like, anyone else think some of the dialogue exchange sounded a little weird there? Where he's like, Luke is suddenly like, "Come with me." I was just like,
No, I think it was all right. I don't have that much.
The part where he's telling Vader to let go of his hate, that seemed a little bit weak to me. That might have been due to Mark Hamill's delivery.
Yeah, but Mark Hamill is a better voice actor than actor. Let's be real.
Joker.
He plays
the Joker
or Ozai in Avatar: Last Airbender. He also played Undergrowth in Danny Phantom.
Really?
So yeah.
Can you imagine? I would love Mark Hamill. Would have been amazing if Mark Hamill voiced Splinter or Shredder in TMNT.
Where?
That's something.
I would die of happiness if he did that.
Also, it's like, as for Mark Hamill, it's like he also played as Muska in Castle in the Sky and as Captain Stickybeard in Kids Next Door.
Oh,
well,
nice.
Okay,
I didn't know those kids.
Essentially, what we're saying, people, is Mark
And
Hamill
he was Ivan in How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay.
We're saying that he's a good actor in voice acting roles, as opposed to actual real life acting roles. But okay, a little bit of credit to.
Sorry.
Do you guys think that his performance in The Last Jedi was okay, despite what we all hate about The Last Jedi?
I mean,
he tried his best. I hate to say it, but he's probably the only thing that his acting was the only thing that was good about that movie.
Exactly.
I'm not going to offer a comment because I refuse to offer The Last Jedi any comments. I hate it almost as much as I hate Dragon Ball Evolution.
I'm not going to be even in the Last Jedi teardown podcast. So
okay, then King will be with us.
Okay, guys, we're
all the time, anytime.
We're getting off topic.
It's only for the people who've seen The Last Jedi. But anyway, next, but yeah, that's the thing. Was all the acting in the prequel trilogy bad? No. Was all the dialogue in the dialogue of the prequels bad? No. Was all the line delivery of the prequels bad? No. So OT fanboys, go suck a dick.
What's up with this obsession with dialogue and acting anyway? It's
Blanket.
No. These people, I mean, there's other movies that have better dialogue and acting than Star Wars. I mean, Back to the Future is another example of I think is objectively better in terms of acting and dialogue than Star Wars. It's like like I said for CG, only Star Wars fanboys care about acting and CGI.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that when I asked some of the OT fanboys what their problem with the dialogue was, is that they didn't feel like it was modern enough for them to relate to them.
What about the sequel trilogy?
Modern. That's why modern. That's what makes something age quickly. I want something that's timeless, something that anyone from any time period can enjoy, not something that's only good for like one time period and no one cares about it anymore.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like Shakespeare is still timeless.
It's like I'm just using this as another example. Great movies, are timeless. Bad movies are not. Like once a few years has passed, it's already irrelevant and dated. I mean, it's like an example of a timeless films is Back to the Future, the original two Terminator movies. I'm talking about the original two of the series.
Two Alien movies as well. The first two.
Yeah, the first few two Alien movies. Star Wars, all of the original 6 films. It's like I don't want something that's modern. I want something that's timeless.
Oh yeah, like another example is Shawshank Redemption.
Another one is the Godzilla film.
It depends which ones, because there's like almost 30 of them.
But still, the overall theme and its message about the whole caution of nuclear weapons, that's kind of a timeless thing since that's so relevant.
But that's subjective.
Yeah.
But
can we bring up any timeless video games by any chance?
Yeah, no, let's keep this.
Let's leave that for another podcast.
All right.
It's like we're doing like movies or anything or TV shows that are timeless. Star Trek is timeless. The original and the Next Generation are timeless.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I can't comment on that. So,
okay, so pretty much, that's pretty much we made our point on that. So, how about next point? Let's get to the next point.
Oh,
I think we'll wait on that. Okay, this one pisses me off a lot. Okay, Jar Jar Binks and Neomordians are racist stereotypes.
Fuck you, Blinket, for that one.
No, how are they racist?
What?
How are they racist stereotypes? I mean,
I heard that they're a mockery of Jamaican people. That's what I heard back when I was in high school.
And Asians for Neomordians.
But this is a galaxy far, far away.
And these are aliens. We don't know what aliens are really like.
So who gives a shit? It's just this culture that gets offended over everything. I'm not even going to get into politics here because that.
Let's not.
Yeah, but that's exactly what it is. It's like.
I mean, if that was all there was to their characters, then that might be something. But since they do things that actually affect the plot and develop to their characters to a certain degree, so I say, who cares?
Racist stereotypes. What about the Disney Star Wars films? The only reason certain people are cast because of to do a quota. I mean, do we need to get into one of the characters in Rogue One only being cast because he's Chinese?
Donnie Yen.
Yeah, a talented actor that deserves much better than to be in some no-name character that everyone forgets about when the movie is over.
I still don't even remember that blind guy's name. But then again, I don't remember any of their names.
Or Rose Tico. Tico, which I consider probably the most racist casting that Disney's done so far. Disney, okay.
They wanted to cast her because they wanted to appeal to the Chinese people, even though she's Vietnamese, and Vietnamese and Chinese do not have.
Well, I was about to say, someone that's attracted to Asian women, I know the difference between Korean, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Japanese. I know the difference. In Disney's mind, they're not going to. All Asians look the same. That's what Disney thinks in their mind. That the Chinese won't know the difference, and they're wrong. That's one of the reasons The Last Jedi flopped over there. Vietnam and China has bad blood between them, and the very fact that Disney is so insensitive culturally not to research this, it's like ignorant at best and is racist at its worst. It's like it is racist against Asian, the Asian community as a whole because they assume that everyone thinks all Asians look the same. They don't.
And these are supposed to be from the people who are supposed to be progressive.
They're not. I mean, it's extremely racist. I mean, I can't comment on, Kelly Marie Tran, but I don't think she deserved to be cast in that way. her only purpose is to fill a quota. She didn't deserve it at all.
It's kind of didn't they say that the woman who played Maz was cast because she was both African and whatever race, what other race she was?
But Maz was also on.
Yeah, but you couldn't. But we couldn't use her as herself. You had to CGI her,
and she's also an alien too.
That's true.
Yeah, it's like it's like so we can't have black women be in those kind of roles. We had to have her be an alien.
I got a question. Wasn't Lando black?
Yes.
Of course, yeah.
So
So
why are people getting so up in arms about it in later films compared to the original trilogy? When I loved Lando and I love the actor who plays it, why does it even fucking matter? Oh my gosh, I hate this shit so much. I hate
it. It doesn't even matter in the Star Wars universe because no matter what your skin color, humans are just considered humans, and aliens are considered everything else.
Okay, in Star Wars universe, there are the entire human race is dominant in the Empire, and they hate all aliens. So I'm going by in universe. There's no racism between different colors of different of the same aliens, which is honestly a perfect world. But it's still fucked up that they would hate on other aliens, just because they're different.
Well, Kyle. What I'm saying is, okay.
I know. I'm just bringing up as an in-universe thing.
I'm saying the Memorian Gundams is not a racist stereotype compared to what Disney does with Finn, Rose, that blind guy from Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. If you ask me, that is extremely racist, especially Finn. We don't even get me started on, how he's treated and.
Oh yes,
and the
that reminds.
Finn is basically a clown.
Do I also need to bring up? There was a certain YouTuber. I don't know. I don't remember his name. He. I think you could say if he was around today, he would be considered a Phantom Menacer, a little bit. But his YouTube channel's gone. I don't know what happened to him. He made a video on pointing out that Force Awakens pointed out that Finn was, like a racist stereotype and not like characters like Mace Windu or Lando or hell, not even Jar Jar Binks. He said that at the end. I was like, I started laughing. I was like, lol, because at least Jar Jar had character. But
wasn't it Chris Stuckman who said that the characters in the sequel trilogy felt so real and so easy to relate to?
That's a different character.
Okay, guys, can I say this here? Okay, that's very easy for a white male to say that when they're not the ones that have in their entire community being represented in such a stereotypical way. It's like I don't really want to hear it. I don't see how a character like Finn is empowering the black community. If anything, it's making them look like a bunch of clowns. I'm sorry. I wouldn't.
Whenever I see Finn, I just feel like people think that black people are incompetent idiots that can't tell tools from.
But I got a question, Jordan. Do you know who this person is I'm talking about? I think you knew. I think you knew this person. I think he gave up YouTube. And I think you two had a falling out a long time ago. I don't know.
I don't remember.
We'll talk about it at the end. I'll ask you after it.
Okay. I'm saying this, Kyle. It's like, okay. If they're trying to empower minorities, they need to actually empower them, giving them roles that actually are actually good roles. I mean, if you actually ask me, Finn's character had potential. He could have been the underdog. He could have been the underdog that no one expected to be the hero. He could have been that. He could have been that instead of having Rey, which that's problematic. We'll get into that. Anyway, I know we spend more time talking about the sequels, but we're talking about the negative stereotypes, people that are problematic in the sequels that no one brings up, but yet attacks the sequels. The prequels for this.
I know, right?
Hypocritical.
Exactly.
I don't see how the Morians are racist. They're aliens. I don't see a similarities from them into Chinese people or Jamaicans for the Gundans. It's
You
like
know,
it's a galaxy.
I'm surprised that they never considered Wookiees or Ewoks a racist stereotype or something like that, or some other alien species from the OT. I'm surprised about that.
The only time I've heard about that about the Ewoks is that they compared like Native Americans or people from Vietnam.
Oh God! Oh
I
my
don't
God.
see that at all with the Ewoks. It's a fantasy fucking universe, for God's sake.
Exactly.
I hate this. I hate this fandom so much.
Yeah, both sides want to inject their fucking politics into this franchise, and it makes me want to fucking go on a shooting spree.
Exactly why I fucking. This is why I hate politics in general. But anyway, let's get into. What's so funny?
Speaking of politics, let's dive into that.
I don't want to talk
Oh
about
yes!
politics.
Oh my God!
I'm apolitical.
Politics in Star Wars. Okay,
Politics
so
in Star Wars.
we're not going by real world politics. We're talking about politics in Star Wars, like the council chambers, the senators, all that stuff,
Senate
and
meetings.
people like all that stuff. We're going by in universe stuff, not real world related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say this: fucking world building, people, deal with it.
And how else are you going to tell how the Republic became an empire?
You know what? I will say
politics.
This. As a kid, people say that they don't care.
Skip it.
Oh, as a kid, when I first saw the Senate chamber, when I first saw Coruscant, I was blown away by how big this galaxy was. I was like, "Holy shit, this is huge!" And people want to say, "Oh, kids don't care about politics," and I'm just like, George Lucas made a quote saying that he wants to educate other people. Well, by the way, funny thing is, George, I love bro, no homo. But the thing is that you didn't get me involved with politics because all it did made me lose faith in humanity. So it didn't work. Sorry, buddy.
Well, okay, I'm sorry, but those people are making kids stupid, stupider than they give them credit for. I'm sorry, Kyle, I have to bring this up.
Go ahead.
Children, when I was a kid, I was into politics a lot. I don't know a kid who isn't into politics one way or another in school because it's impossible not to escape it. I mean, kids are not. This is the problem I have with these prequel haters. They treat kids like they're idiots.
I mean, even when I was growing up, I didn't care about politics, and I still don't. But at least I was aware to some degree of what was going on around me. I wasn't stupid.
I find politics in other universes interesting, but in the real world, I hate it.
Well,
like Mass Effect and Star Wars.
Well, if you want to write politics in a fictional universe, you have to be knowledgeable about politics. Otherwise, you're just going to make yourself look like an idiot who doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you gotta use it as inspiration, which is why I gotta use it in some of my fan fictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, okay. As for the politics, how else would you explain the state of the galaxy in the original trilogy? It was the fall of a republic.
Exactly.
If you didn't explain anything through politics, you would have the sequel trilogy, which doesn't give us shit. For all we know, the galaxy has been at war for like half a century. We don't know. We don't know the context because the sequels don't give us anything. At least the prequels give us context.
Speaking of the prequels, can we all agree that even to this day, Coruscant looks gorgeous just from a visual perspective?
Oh, yes.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
It's one of my favorite planets.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, was that mostly CGI or practical effects or a little combination of both? But either way, it still looks gorgeous to this day.
I consider it one of the best planets in sci-fi, in my opinion, in terms of the way it looks and the personality behind it. Like the planet itself tells us everything we need to know about Coruscant as a world.
Exactly, and I was blown away by this as a kid, and for someone who's not interested in politics at all, freaking, I was blown away by this. I loved it as a kid.
I mean,
and even as an adult, I still love it.
I mean, it's thanks to the prequels that I actually got invested into the politics of Game of Thrones because I wanted to see how these people would connive and backstab their way to power.
Personal note here, guys. I also don't really care about real life politics whatsoever. However, the politics in Star Wars, I actually find them interesting compared to real life. I think it's more because, well, besides it being in the Star Wars universe, it also, I think, it serves the plot, as Dr. Snowy has said in a previous video. It serves the story to progress it, to make it move forward. So they are just as necessary in the prequels. And even in episode 4, there was a little bit of politics in there. So
a little bit, yeah, there was.
Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't bitched about those parts.
The Senate being dissolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even Rogue One has politics in there.
Uh-huh.
It's like these people pick and choose their arguments. It's like they're such hypocrites. It's like they ignore things that are prevalent in some of the movies that they like. I mean, you want to know a movie that's horrible in politics? The Last Jedi. The way it presents its politics is so awful. It's like
I think Force Awakens is also bad with that too.
No, Force Awakens doesn't even have a fucking plot. It really doesn't. The politics in The Last Jedi, why it doesn't work compared to the politics of the prequels, why it works. The prequels works because it serves the story, because it's related to everything that has happened in the original trilogy. It explains how the galaxy got to the state that it is at the start of A New Hope. The Last Jedi, the reason why the politics don't work in The Last Jedi, because real world politics are mixed in there.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like it's just a bunch of. Okay, I'm just letting you guys know I am no liberal or conservative. I hate both of them. But okay, it just feels like it feels like a bunch of liberals, venting how much they hate Trump. That's the entire movie in a nutshell. It's just Trump hate. It's like, I don't care if you hate Trump.
Didn't you, Dark Genovia, say that in one of the podcasts that the reason why Holdo was so distrusting and not including information to Poe was because it was that one of the Last Jedi defenders said that it was a symbolism for women fighting against toxic masculinity or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hodo's character would have worked much better if there was a spy.
Or she was a spy.
She should have been a spy, yeah.
It would have been a great.
That would have made the movie made a whole lot more sense.
It would have been a great twist. It would have been. It's like, that's how you could have redeemed that plot line. Make Hodo the traitor.
In fact, that little twist could have also worked in Rogue One explain why the council was so incompetent.
Okay, we're getting sidetracked. I think we better stop with the sequels now.
I know, Cal, but we're talking about the politics, why it doesn't work in the sequels, and compare it to and why the prequels work well. I mean, okay, you cannot like the politics if you wish. Okay, that's fine. You think they're boring. Okay, fine. But that's not a valid criticism, because if you take away the politics, what do you have in the prequels, story-wise? What do you have?
You have
a love story, the Jedi falling, and that's pretty much it. That's not really much substance.
You would not have much of a story if you didn't have the politics.
Yep.
Not to mention that the prequels were supposed to show a different side of the galaxy. Yeah. All you saw in A New Hope was the war against the Empire. The prequels is different. You actually 2 out of the 3 films it was during peacetime, so we got a chance to see what the galaxy was like during a time of peace. We actually,
and you also get to see it subtly turn the Republic into the Empire, especially with their technology of them using somewhat prototype fighters and Star Destroyer.
Not to mention, with the politics in the prequels, it also explains why there's even a galactic senate in the original trilogy. You know, the world building.
People also complained about how like it's not character driven, like it's too focused on politics compared to the original trilogy where it's focused on characters. Again, we're saying that does the original trilogy the prequel trilogy have to be like the original trilogy?
No, it doesn't. Not we mean that the prequels were totally character driven. The entire trilogy was about the fall of Anakin Skywalker.
Exactly.
It was Anakin's story. It wasn't Obi-Wan's story, which we'll probably get into later. It's Anakin's story. It's supposed to explain how Anakin, went from being an innocent boy into the monster that we see in A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, without the prequels, the original trilogy is not as, in my opinion, not as interesting to watch.
Oh yes,
True.
We'll bring that at the end. Oh shit! A cat's entering the room.
Okay.
Okay, so we made our point about politics. Let's move on.
Yeah. Now, character chemistry.
How about character chemistry is highly criticized in the prequels, like based on like how the characters interact and whatnot.
I mean, I would admit that there's some things in the prequels, as far as character chemistry, could have worked a little bit better. Like, I would have liked a little bit more peaceful bonding between Anakin and Obi-Wan. So it might be a little bit easier for the casual fans to believe that they were friends. But they kind of made up for that for Revenge of the Sith, so I'm a bit more forgiving for that.
And there's also that moment in the elevator in Attack, joking about
about their
the nest of Gundarks.
Yeah. And not to mention, the thing is that didn't the original trilogy not really establish the heroes as friends either very well?
In episode 5.
Yeah, episode 5 and somewhat episode 4. So, yeah. So you can turn this argument against the original trilogy a little bit. So,
we could piece the pieces on how Anakin and Obi-Wan, became, were friends in Attack of the Clones. I mean, we're not dumb. It's almost as if these prequel haters treat, everyone like they're complete idiots. Like we can't actually piece things together.
Because they wanted to be like the Marvel animated universe where everything's an exposition dump.
And they also.
Sorry.
They also want. I feel like they need everything spoon fed.
Yeah, these fucking OT fanboys. They claim that everybody needs to. It's almost like they try to make everyone seem that we're all dumb when in reality it's them who are the dumb guys.
Indeed.
Exactly.
It's kind of funny that they're the idiots. I mean, they can't even understand basic concepts, basic storytelling, and fucking basic things in literature. It's like these people are stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're a bunch of illiterate fucking neckbeards that probably haven't read a book since fucking elementary school. Okay, I'm sorry if I sound
uncultured.
Okay, I'm sorry if I sound like a gatekeeper here, but it really angers me that we have this kind of people being the voices of our fucking fandom. It angers me to no end.
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much the definition of a vocal minority.
It pushes me away as a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
They embarrass us.
I mean, it's because of these people that I didn't want to talk about Star Wars between graduating from middle school all the way until I graduated from high school.
Really?
Huh.
I mean, the prequel hate wasn't as prevalent as it was back in like 2009, but it was pretty strong when I was growing up. I even got bullied by some.
It started in 2009.
We'll go more about fandom bullshit when we get to our fandom podcast. But
but general, not everyone's experience is the same with the fandom. You gotta remember that.
I know that. I know
That
that.
is
It's just
true.
that. It's just that apparently I never truly saw any actual prequel hate until literally 2009 or after, because I never saw it in between 2005
Yeah,
2008.
like I said, it wasn't as impactful or as noticeable as it came later on, but you could still see the seeds of it. And even then,
Yeah.
you could just tell when you got around it, it just kind of makes you not want to be involved with Star Wars anymore.
Yeah, but don't these people realize that even being a fan of Star Wars, even before the OT, during the OT, was kind of taboo?
Explain.
Yeah, I know that there were critics that actually hated the original trilogy at the
No,
time.
okay, no, Con, this is before most of our, pretty much all of our times. It's like during like the late '70s to all throughout the '80s. Of course, before that, anything that was remotely geeky was frowned upon.
Oh, that's
Like,
what I mean.
Yeah,
Didn't,
that is
didn't they
true.
also have the negative fans of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi too?
yeah, critics back at that time period hated the original trilogy, and anything that was geeky, they criticized it. They had no respect for anything that was sci-fi.
Was it the same with Terminator and Aliens?
Wouldn't surprise me, but this is a Star Wars related podcast.
I know, but since you mentioned science fiction, that's why I wonder.
It wouldn't surprise me. A lot of movies that are considered classics now were hated by critics.
Yeah.
What's actually
Exactly.
ironic is those movies have actually people still remember them, yet the movies they gave favorable reviews are all but forgotten. Like, does anyone even remember the original Red Dawn? No. No one cares about gives a shit about Red Dawn. I mean, it's just you can't trust critics in any era. You couldn't trust them in the '70s or the '80s. You can't trust them now, but that's a different topic.
Especially after a certain movie, which will not be named, Captain.
The Last Chris.
Well,
No, not that movie. The movie that happened last week.
Last one.
All right, let's not get into that. Let's not get into
No,
that. All right.
no. Actually, I stopped trusting critics. After X-Men, First Class, because I thought that movie was garbage.
I stopped trusting them after the Amazing Spider-Man 2 because that was a good movie.
I
Yeah,
never
but
trusted critics. Okay, so let's move on.
Let's
I
move
think
on.
to a new criticism. Or do you guys have anything else you want to say about the character chemistry? Because I felt like the character chemistry in the prequels was actually pretty decent. So
I thought it was pretty good too. I don't know.
Me
What
too.
is your-
It's
like, what is
good.
your it's like, okay, why do I have to bring this up? There's no chemistry with the characters in the sequels. None at all. I'm sorry if I'm they're my whipping boy. It's like there is no chemistry between any of
Ray
the
and Finn.
characters.
It's so forced.
It's like it's so forced. It's like the closest we have to it is Finn and Ray. But here's the problem with that one. You know how I said how Force Awakens was rushed? It's like you have no build up towards their relationship. It's like but then again, I like to elaborate this in a future video. John Boyega and Diz really did have a decent chemistry together. As much as I hate to say this, they did, but that still doesn't change the fact that the characters themselves had no chemistry together. Because let's be real, Poe, Ray, and Finn have never been in the same scene together at all in 2 movies.
Honestly, I feel Poe and Finn have a better relationship than Finn does with Ray. I mean, that's why I kind of feel like I can understand why some people think that Finn and Poe should be gay, even though I don't really care.
Something interesting about those 2 relationships, they're the only relationships that seem to work, and then they completely forget about them towards the end of the movie and The Last Jedi. That's the funny part.
Yeah, which I argue. Let's move on. Let's move on.
How about this one? The whole yes men around George Lucas criticism.
Oh, yes. That is one I've hearing a lot in all these years.
The yes men. Okay. I'm not going to defend. I'm not going to defend and say, having yes men was good or bad. But is George Lucas unique in this regard?
No, because Ryan
Not
Johnson
really.
did that.
No, I'm just talking about Ryan Johnson and Jar Jar Abrams are easy targets, but is George Lucas really unique in this regard of being surrounded by yes men?
No, I mean Steven Spielberg's had yes men around him.
Mm-hmm. Ridley Scott had yes men when he was doing Alien Covenant, and look how that turned out.
Didn't also George have people he showed. Okay, so I saw this clip of where he showed a battle droid to Steven Spielberg, I think, because I think Steven are both George are good friends. Well,
Of course they are.
And he thought it was actually a really good idea and said yes, because he loved it, and people criticized that video.
They do it?
Yeah, there was a video where he shows a battle droid for episode 1 for the first time when on the set of working on Theed, when episode 1 was being worked on. And they claim, this is the yes men thing. I was just like, dude, he was just showing his friend a battle droid and he loved the idea,
Yeah, but how do we? Yeah, but we don't. Yeah, but John Williams wasn't a yes man. He originally the Duel of Fates was not going to have the core that it's so famous for.
Explain.
Like I didn't know this until recently. They showed John Williams not liking it because he felt like it would take people out of the movie, and George Lucas disagreed with it.
And how did they settle that?
What?
How did they settle that?
Well, I don't have the full details. You're gonna have to look this. You're gonna have to look this up later. Maybe we could play the clip in the video. But George Lucas did not just have yes men. John Williams didn't completely agree with George Lucas regarding Duel of Fates. We almost didn't get the Duel of Fates that we all know and love. If John Williams had it his way, we would have never gotten, one of the greatest pieces of music in history.
That would have been a tragedy.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yes.
I wonder how the original sounded.
Okay. I'm not saying that George Lucas did not have yes men. I'm not saying that, but is this really a valid criticism?
No, it's not.
Not at all.
I mean,
No. Like I said, Steven Spielberg had at yes men. So, despite how much I respect him as a filmmaker, he hasn't always made good movies.
It's like, how does having yes men make you a bad director? We don't know what happens completely behind the scenes.
The criticism is because apparently by having tons of
people not telling George.
Not telling George Lucas when to stop. When, hey, this may be a bad idea. Don't do it.
There was one point that I want to make. Have you ever guys seen the Cinema Wins Everything Great About the Prequels? Which I like that piece.
I have.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's how
he also pointed out that basically George Lucas didn't want to put the lightsaber. Someone suggested putting the lightsaber throw that Yoda does in Episode 3, and he said it was too much. But he just was told no, it would be a good idea, and he put it in there. So the thing is, there are people giving him ideas. So it wasn't all yes men.
Okay, we don't know for sure everything that happened behind the scenes because we will never know for sure because this isn't like currently where we have a general idea what's been going on behind the scenes in movies. Like for all you know, George Lucas there wasn't all yes men. We don't know that for sure. Just cherry picking a few clips from the makings of the movie isn't going to convince me that everyone was a yes man.
Yeah.
LOL, lol.
It's not a valid criticism considering that many directors are guilty of doing the same thing, yet at least highly profiled ones like James Cameron, Steven Spielberg. Yeah. Yet no one gives them crap for it. Yet they give George Lucas. It's okay to give George Lucas crap because George Lucas ruined my childhood. Lol.
Oh man,
I think it's more of wah wah wah. I'm a baby.
It's hypocritical to, say that about George, yet Jar Jar Abrams is far more guilty of being a yes man than George is.
Lol, definitely.
I mean, okay. Jar Jar Abrams changed his ending for his movie because of Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, he pretty much did a lot of things just to kiss Kathleen Kennedy's ass.
I mean, Jar Jar Abrams has no backbone. I mean, if he truly had any self-respect as a filmmaker, he would have said, no, I'm not changing my ending. I mean, The Force Awakens, the original ending, I'm bringing this up, how it's relevant about the Yes Man thing. There was originally supposed to be a bunch of rocks floating in the air when Rey finds them, showcasing how powerful Luke is.
Right.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Anyway, little out of the
Little
podcast. Apparently, we got Revan here in the podcast.
Yes, I'm here, guys.
Yeah.
Look, my job just ended, and I figured rather than spend a boring half hour on a commute, I might as well talk to you guys a little bit.
Unfortunately, we're almost like 2/3 of the podcast. You should have come a little more earlier.
Hey,
It's okay.
1/3
It's
is better than nothing.
It's okay. Well, if you want to know where we are, we're in the part where George Lucas, basically people accusing him of being a yes man. I'm making an argument about Jar Jar Abrams.
Is there
being a
any
yes man.
source? Is there any source that confirms that, or is that just a rumor? Because I hear so many people repeat that idea, but I have not seen a single source citation to back it up. If there is one, I would like to know, because otherwise it's a bunch of hearsay.
Well, even if it was true, it's not hypocritical, considering that
Oh yeah, Rian Johnson boasted about going with the first draft. He boasted about that.
Yeah, they basically gave him ultimate freedom and control. I mean, that was a person who should have been restrained.
And Mark Hamill was going against him, and look at what that turned out. Rian Johnson.
Well, Mark Hamill actually suggested, kissing Leia on the forehead. That was his Mark Hamill suggestion.
And he had to actually fight for that.
Yeah, because Johnson is fucking.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, it's just why do even if it is true, why is it okay for other directors to get away with it, but not George Lucas?
Because they're scapegoating George Lucas for everything that went wrong with his thing. He privately owned the IP until he sold it to Disney. And there seems to be this weird thing where people are really against privately owned IPs. It feels similar with the whole Alita thing. It's a stupid false dichotomy, because it's not mutually exclusive whether or not you like Alita or Captain Marvel. You can like both for all I care. But the funny thing is James Cameron privately owns the TV, the television, and the film rights to Alita, Battle Angel. Just similar to how George Lucas owned the rights to Star Wars privately until he sold it.
I want to see that Alita movie. Is it any good?
It's literally the one movie that breaks this curse of bad anime adapted into live action. At least it's visually good enough, and at least it does a better job with a certain subplot than the anime movie does. Better than manga even.
Anyway,
going back to
I'm
George
sorry,
Lucas,
I'm just lost in that movie. I got bedazzled by it.
Yeah,
guys.
But even going back to like George Lucas having yes men, at least he wasn't above not taking criticisms. I mean, he decided to put in more practical effects when he felt there was too much CGI in the Phantom Menace, so he put more practical effects in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
Not only that, he also heard that people that didn't like Jar Jar Binks, so he diminished Jar Jar Binks' presence after Phantom Menace. Jar Jar only has the Senate scene and the hello to Anakin in Episode 2, and he doesn't say anything at all in Revenge of the Sith. And the last thing he does is in the DVD of Return of the Jedi in 2004, you hear his voice on Naboo saying, "We set free."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame because George Lucas had original plans for Jar Jar in the sequels to the prequel trilogy.
All three?
No,
Yes, he did.
I think let's. I don't want to bring up the Darth Jar Jar theory. I really don't.
No, we're not bringing.
No, we're not talking
I
about
think he was
that.
being sarcastic about it. That's the way I feel about it.
Well,
I think
regardless,
Palpatine was always meant to be the top Sith.
well,
But
regardless,
he's just joking about it.
regardless if it's true or not, George Lucas was willing to change certain aspects of his story just to, make the fans happy. And
Exactly. He
It's
also
like-
didn't. I don't remember him being on social media either. I mean,
There was no.
there's a lot of people that troll about how and be drama queens about how much they dislike a movie. But overreacting is really dumb because you're giving them attention and you're encouraging them to keep trolling. The really outrageous fans are encouraged because you give them attention. I mean, most of this fandom menace is just feeding off articles made about them, and I'm just like, if you really drop the articles, the fandom menace don't have much to feed off of. That's really what there is. Like, I look at these fandom menace channels, and like the majority of what they have is responding to articles made by people to counter troll them, and I'm just like, seriously, Esquire magazine, those people just need to make them irrelevant by not bringing up an issue about what The Last Jedi is, several months later or something.
Yeah.
Have a deadline.
We're getting sidetracked.
Hold on.
I'll stop.
Revan, we need you for the fandom podcast because I think you would be great in those.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks.
But going back, like I said, George Lucas, despite all the hate he get and getting some death threats, even from people that I actually knew, because I knew they sent death threats to George Lucas, he wasn't above taking constructive criticism, which is a lot more than I can say for certain people, like the nostalgia critic, who, when they offer him constructive criticism for how lackluster his show is, he'll just ignore and just say, "Ooh, your fanboy tears are nourishing me."
I always hate nostalgia critic.
Well, here's the thing. Even if this thing is true, George Lucas, they're not going to... When people release the makings of movies, they're not going to release stuff that makes the creator look bad. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to show all the times his people challenged him or said, yes, it's a good idea, George. They're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not. I mean... No one criticizes Peter Jackson for how he handled Lord of the Rings, except book purists, but that's a different topic.
Well, even then, I'd say he did a really good job. Peter Jackson did a decent job for a book adaptation. I mean, he missed a few small details like the battle at the Shire or Tom Bombadil, but otherwise, I'd say he nailed most of it.
It's just I don't understand why George Lucas gets this hate. It's almost as if people just are envious that this man beat the system.
Well, he kind of did, because he, unlike a lot of the IPs, it isn't corporately owned. It was privately owned by Lucas until he sold it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it wasn't for George Lucas doing these things, we wouldn't have a lot of the films that we have.
No, we
wouldn't
wouldn't.
have some of the special effects.
We probably wouldn't even have the Alita movie, or even the manga, if he didn't do that.
Or
Because
the
I think
Marvel movies.
there's some inspiration there.
I mean, I think the same company that did George Lucas' prequels also did the things for like the new Godzilla movies, which look, Godzilla, I mean, whether or not you like the 2014 movie, you can't deny that he looks good. He looks better in this new movie along with King Ghidorah.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And not to mention for Marvel fans who hate the prequels, and some of the people who work for Marvel that hate the prequels, they would not exist without George. Sorry.
Oh, come on. The CGI was a good thing.
You wouldn't even be able to do the Incredible Hulk or Thanos without the CGI.
I guess.
Look, RoboCop from 1987 worked in its time, but having a bulky cyborg that just trots along like RoboCop doesn't work all the time. All right, having an agile cyborg or an agile droid that moves faster is what you get with CGI and with people doing motion capture.
I think the 2014 RoboCop is actually underrated.
Okay, guys. Enough.
Well, I'm just saying, CGI, it's not a bad thing. I like it. I love CGI.
Okay.
Talking about George Lucas now.
Okay, so so I think we should hold off on the George Lucas topic for the last one because there's one more criticism for the prequels as a whole that we need to touch upon. Is like before we talk about George Lucas, because he's a very important topic. But
Okay.
I feel like we need to get this last one out first. Execution being one of the biggest criticisms of the prequels, and it's kind of a fair one, actually. I will agree to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Let's tackle
but
it.
I will ask this: was everything poorly executed?
No.
I would say no.
No.
I think that's absurd to assume everything was poorly executed. You could make an argument that it could have been done better, but to say that the whole thing was poorly executed is ridiculous.
Exactly.
I mean, I mean, if everything was poorly executed, then pretty much the prequels wouldn't be as memorable as it would be. You want to see a movie that tried to execute everything and then did it poorly, everything wrong? Watch Dragon Ball Evolution. That is the movie that had nothing wrong.
I think more of The Last Jedi and Force Awakens is more of a better relative topic because it's Star Wars. So yeah.
Sorry guys, I couldn't resist that laugh about Dragon Ball.
I think the Matrix sequels is a good analogy.
Yeah, they were quite a bit disappointing. I mean, I get the concept behind them, but
I've never seen The Matrix, so I can't comment.
Yeah, and even with the prequels execution, you got to admit that it helped expanded this universe. I mean, I'm not trying to get into the EU, but it did make the universe a lot bigger. Even if you just go by the movies, it added a lot of history and context and world building to
Exactly. Exactly. And actually, here's the thing. I have this unique opinion among people. This might piss a lot of people off. I thought Anakin's rise and fall to the dark side was well done.
I felt it was. You know, it was done bit by bit. You know, starting in episode 2, he obviously was totally berserk with the Sand People, and then, you know, it built up. And the way I felt it built up. They warned you about it in Phantom Menace. They showed it starting to happen with the Sand People on Tatooine in episode 2, and in episode 3, that's the crossing the line. You know, crossing the event horizon.
Earlier in the Phantom Menace with Anakin, you know, being afraid of, you know the scene I'm talking about in the Jedi Council chamber. Phantom Menace.
He was afraid of losing his mother.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is actually pretty reasonable.
It is, especially when he hasn't matured that much. I mean, the fact is, I mean, people like to blame one thing for Shmi's death or another. She was going to inevitably die sometime. It's all a question of how and when.
Yep.
All right. So we made our point on the execution, but
Well,
if any bad execution,
actually think we. I mean, there's some things I do think that could have been executed better, in my opinion.
Explain.
I think the romance between Anakin and Padme.
Definitely, yeah. I will agree. I
definitely
agree with that.
I think it was better handled than
It felt rushed, you know, when I saw it. Of course, there's probably only so much you do in a 2-hour movie. Because I guess Lucas wasn't interested in doing 2.5.
Well, I'm mostly speaking from. We don't know anything from Padme's perspective in the movie.
No, we don't. Well, we get a little exposition from Padme saying about how she didn't really entirely want her the way she went. She felt she was too young and didn't really understand what being elected Queen of Naboo was like. That was the early exposition dialogue when they landed.
Well, it's just I felt like, you know, cutting the scenes with Padme with her family was a mistake, considering the fact that we don't know, because as far as we have to assume that the people who are watching these videos don't read the expanded universe, which is a fair, you know, thing to assume. As far as we know,
it is because our standard is that we want to say that how the movie did on its own script, not supplementary material.
It's just George Lucas cutting that out completely. You know, it was a detriment because, okay, I'm just going to compare this to Han and Leia. Even though I prefer Padme and Anakin, we got stuff from Leia's perspective with Han. Padme didn't get that. She
actually said more, if I remember correctly, in Empire and Empire Strikes Back, Leia said more lines of dialogue about Han than Padme did about Anakin, but maybe I'm just not remembering it right. Do you guys know anything about that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, it's just it's like I said, episode 2. I felt like was the most important chapter of the saga, and I think George Lucas completely missed the mark on key areas.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I know I still like Attack of Clones, but I can admit that it has issues.
It's mostly the romance.
It is the romance, and even though I like the romance, it could have been done better, objectively speaking. But I must ask, what romance is better, Anakin and Padme or Han and Leia?
I think Han and Leia just had more substance. They put more exposition into it. That's my statement on the matter.
I have to reluctantly agree, considering the fact that Han and Leia, there was more build-up towards Leia saying "I love you, Han" than Padme saying "I love you, Anakin."
I will agree with that.
True.
I think the other thing is the environment of Empire Strikes Back. It's them on the run, and that's really high adrenaline. And I'm going to keep it PG rated here, but things like survival get you a little bit aroused.
We say every swear word.
Trust me, I'm a married guy. I would know. All right.
Yeah, but Kyle, not everyone has the same standards we do, so we can't assume everyone's gonna.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm not even saying about standards. I was just trying to say, look, I have experience in adult stuff, so I would know about what adrenaline and survival instinct can do to you. All right.
Okay.
Interesting.
It gets you a little bit excited. You get more aroused and excited from it.
Fair enough.
As for me, I prefer Anakin and Padme's romance more.
Explain.
Yeah, but that's preference, though. We're talking about objectively.
Well, I would say that the action scenes of them together were cool, but I would say that Han and Leia had more exposition put into it over the course of Empire Strikes Back.
And that's why I made the suggestion that there should have been maybe one more bounty hunter attack, not like a whole bunch,
Definitely, because that would, like I said before, it plays into the survival adrenaline thing. Like in we're not going to go on tangent to the Terminator, but that's kind of why Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor ended up procreating John. It was crazy survival against something that's out to kill them.
We had this. When you watch our podcast on YouTube, you will see that we did talk about this subject. Basically, like how, if we had a bunch more attacks on Padme, it would become like the Last Jedi, basically.
It does.
But I mean, just one more attack, just on Naboo. Like if they're sitting,
Or how about on Tatooine?
Tatooine.
Wait, actually, Tatooine, right after the death of Anakin's mother.
I would have preferred actually Naboo, because actually then it would prove that even her home planet wasn't safe.
That's true.
And hiding on Tatooine would actually be the last place they'd look, because that's where every single scumbag is on.
Okay, guys, we're in an emergency. I'm signing out. There's some stupid flood out there. See ya. Have a good night.
Take it easy, Revan.
Later.
Stay safe.
You too. Be safe, Revan.
All right. So, yeah, but I think that's pretty much the end of that. I don't really want to talk about that anymore.
Well, do you think we should do 10 things we would have done differently as a short podcast?
Isn't that the what if?
Yeah, we'll do the what ifs. Maybe we'll do that in the what ifs podcast. But
I'm just saying 10 things we would have done differently.
Yeah, but not here, not in this episode.
Here.
I know it's just maybe a hint for the next podcast.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so what is the okay, so we already made a point that not all the execution was bad. In fact, there are a lot of things that are executed, a lot of things that were executed greatly in the prequels. There are things that are not.
I think Christopher Lee was not utilized. In
episode 2, yeah.
I think it was such a waste for such a talented actor.
Yeah.
Oh, so true.
At least Christopher Lee could go to his grave right now and brag that he was in Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
No, I actually think the thing about Dooku is, I think we should have saw him more in the movie. Like, I think he should have been like a senator for his home world.
Sereno. Yeah.
Yes, I think we should have saw, but that's EU. But I'm just talking about as a way, I think, to make Dooku more prevalent in the plot. I think,
yeah,
because no one would believe that Dooku would send someone to assassinate her. And I think that we could have utilized Dooku more, because Dooku, as far as we know, appears at the last minute. We don't next to nothing about him as a character.
Yeah. All right, we'll bring this up, like what we could have done differently in the next episode, because we've been spending way too much time on this. So I think it's time we move on.
Yeah, but it's a valid criticism for things that weren't executed well.
Yeah, unfortunately,
it is valid.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, what other things? We have to be fair, Kyle. We have to talk about things that were not executed well and things that were.
It's kind of hard for me to figure that out because it hasn't been a while since I watched the film. But the romance being one, Dooku being second. Most of the stuff you'll see is mostly an Attack of the Clones, which
Oh God, I think we already covered that though.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah, it was 3 hours.
For those of you who haven't seen Clones, watch that because we're not going to repeat it here.
Yeah. Anyway, so we discussed George Lucas now.
Yeah, we'll go on. Maybe do you guys want to maybe find any more criticisms with the other two prequels that we think are legitimate that we can agree with?
I don't know. The only one I can think of is Episode 1 having Obi-Wan underutilized, but we already discussed that.
We discussed that not every character needs to be established.
Yeah,
Yes.
but honestly, Kyle, I think we've pretty much run out of things to cover because even if we do miss a few things, most of that is just so minuscule at this point. It's like it isn't worth doing a 4-hour podcast for it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So
we need to tackle the elephant in the room.
George Lucas.
Yes.
Which
Let's tackle George.
Honestly, compared to what we have now, and even now this day, he's very mature and handles things really well today when it comes to online reception. He listens to fans. But he didn't take too kindly with the prequel hate, obviously, but he didn't attack the fans or anything. He was never at all insulting, but what I mean is by not taking too kindly is that he sold the franchise to Disney, the devil. And
Yep.
And he did bring up that he doesn't want to do anything to do with Star Wars because of the fans. So
I feel nothing but pity and respect for the man, and more so pity because, like I said earlier in the podcast, I've actually known people who've said that they sent death threats to George Lucas because he made the prequels and they hated it, and they disgust me.
Disgusting.
Yeah, why are you
terrible? Oh, you want to know something? Name a signal director / producer that's as humble as George Lucas.
I would say
Steven Spielberg.
Even Spielberg, maybe.
Yeah. Spielberg. That's the only one I can think of.
Everyone treats George Lucas like he's this terrible person, like he's the spawn of Satan. It's like
I've heard people compare him to the Antichrist.
Oh God!
All George Lucas wanted to do was tell a story. It's like if these people understood how awful things are in Hollywood, they wouldn't be hating George Lucas like they do. I mean, they treat people like George like garbage. Like if you're not a yes man in Hollywood, they disregard you like trash. Like George Lucas is probably one of the greatest independent filmmakers of his time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, name a single person in the history of filmmaking that managed to build a multi-billion-dollar franchise. I know George didn't do it alone.
He didn't do it alone, yes.
Yes.
So he was a big controversy.
That beat the system. Like, no one's beat the system, and I think this is jealousy. People don't like independent filmmakers.
Like Stock Ass, for example.
Yeah.
They don't like the fact that someone like George accomplished the impossible.
Yep.
Okay,
exactly.
I've got to be honest. I don't respect celebrities. I'm being truthful here. I think most celebrities are assholes, and they're terrible human beings that don't actually care about the people around them.
Oh, I second that.
I second that. That's why I don't try to get involved with. I just say I like their acting ability or whatever, and just move on.
I mean, celebrities.
But when you learn about these people in real life, then you're just like, it's really hard to enjoy their performance in a movie. Like Harrison Ford, for me, actually, is kind of a dick. He really is a dick. Like, there was a fan who built an entire Millennium Falcon custom made, and he wanted him to sign it, and Harrison Ford just chucked it over his head. Did you guys ever see that?
No.
I did.
I've never heard of that.
Chucked over his head, laughing like it's funny.
You know,
Yeah. And I
still
felt
think
bad for the
worst-
guy who built it because he looked sad about it, but everyone else laughed along with him. It's just like, dude, he threw that entire custom built Falcon over his head, and broke that entire Lego piece.
Oh,
oh my god! Like that actually made me lose respect for Harrison Ford. He's a great actor, but he's an asshole.
Well,
Also,
that's
not just
why I
that,
like
like,
more Mark Hamill.
Yeah, I saw something. It's like online.
Is he even more of an
about how-
asshole than?
I saw something online about like regarding
I
Alex.
said it was he a bigger asshole than Simon Pegg.
Oh, fuck him too.
I saw this thing online about Alec Guinness, about how there was this one little kid that like
Yeah,
back in the 90s, like how he went to Alec Guinness, and then Alec Guinness asked the kid if he could do something for him. The kid was very enthusiastic about it, but then Alec Guinness says to never watch Star Wars again, and then like the kid cried, and then the mother like yelled at Alec Guinness, and then she took the kid away.
All right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, when I think of Obi-Wan, I don't think of Allen Guinness. I think of Edgar McGregor.
Ewan McGregor.
Me too. McGregor.
Yeah, same here. But yeah, that's why. But we made our point. Celebrities are assholes. This is why I don't like finding out about don't like talking about their personal life.
Well, I'm just saying, like, name
But back to
name
George
a movie
Lucas.
director. Name a movie director that donated most of what he got from selling Star Wars to charity. No other director would do that.
He did. Yeah, he donated $4 billion that he got from selling Star Wars to charity. Yeah, no.
And people claim that people's like, I have no sympathy for George because he's rich. It's like, no, he gave up nearly all of it, if not all of it, to charity.
And I've talked about that, and there's still some people that still think he's greedy because they feel that he covered some of that money for himself. Unless I see proof of that, I don't buy that.
I mean, God forbid George Lucas wants to spend the rest of his life with his fucking family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did after when he was done with the prequels. I think he had a picture with his daughters.
It's
I don't know what he's. But do you guys know what George is doing in to this day now?
Probably directing episode 9 with J.J. Abrams.
He says that he's just making like these private films that that he could just enjoy it by himself and with like some select friends and family.
Oh my gosh, Plinkett took that out of context, and made it like, oh, he's doing porn.
Oh,
for fuck's sake!
Well, these people don't have no idea how hard artists have when they create something. It's not a fun field to be in. A lot of artists are fucking miserable.
It's hard.
Especially when you have a fan base that bashes him and tells him how he's a horrible person.
Or you have a population that's fucking dumb as bricks.
Or you have a bunch of producers and corporate scumbags that try to take over everything and don't understand your artwork.
Humans, fucking humans. Ugh.
Hey, speaking of George Lucas, I think we should discuss this because they use it as a way to
What's that?
to use it as an argument of why the prequels suck compared to the OT. They say that the reason why Episode 4, the OT worked, is because George Lucas only directed Episode 4 and not 5 and 6, and that the only reason why Episode 4 was good, despite George directing it, is because of some sort of edit that was caused by his wife, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, that may be true, but that doesn't just diminish his accomplishment. It really doesn't.
And let alone they say that George Lucas didn't have anything to do with Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. Bullshit. He wrote those movies, and he's the creator of the franchise. He wouldn't let.
It's obviously these people never saw the documentary Empire of Dreams.
I should see it one day.
I mean, A New Hope. George Lucas almost had a nervous breakdown.
Explain. I have never heard of it actually.
It was so stressful, doing that movie. He didn't think it would be successful. Like he was afraid his entire career would be done.
And it wasn't.
And that's why he went to Hawaii, because he was dreading the movie coming out, because he was dreading its failure.
Yeah.
Yep. That's something.
It just people resent him because he possibly is, the most successful independent filmmaker of all time. Okay, I'm not saying he was successful by himself. Obviously, that's ludicrous because no director or film or producer is successful by themselves. They have a team. Yeah, I find it ironic that they love A New Hope, despite it being directed by George Lucas. Okay, yes.
Return of the Jedi.
Yes. Okay. Yes. His wife editing the movie, which it wasn't her single-handedly, by the way. It was one person does not edit a film.
Yep.
They took that out of context.
It was a group of people, not just her. But here's the thing: no one ever criticizes The Last Jedi for being a poorly edited mess, despite the fact that it objectively is. You have The Last Jedi. It feels like there's like 5 or 6 different movies in it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm exaggerating because, I hate the movie with a passion. Yes, the original trilogy was successful because it wasn't just George Lucas doing it. It was a team. The prequels were the same way.
People claim it was only George.
It wasn't only George. That's like ludicrous. So you're saying George Lucas, he did all the editing, all the acting, did all the entire script.
Apparently.
That's the camera. Oh my gosh.
It's like George Lucas didn't even originally want to direct the prequels. He wanted other people to do it, but he was forced to because no one would work with.
Exactly.
Why not? I'm wondering why.
Probably because probably money or something, or
Hollywood hated George Lucas, and some of the people did not want to risk, their credentials being revoked from them. Like Ron Howard was considered for The Phantom Menace.
Oh, really?
But they told him that George Lucas can do it himself. It's like George Lucas originally was going to do it and have other people direct it, but other people told him he could do it himself. It's like you can't just blame George for doing it all himself when no one else wanted anything to do with him.
Some people attribute that as some sort of foreshadowing of how bad the prequels were going to be under George.
How is the original Star Wars movie considered a classic despite it being directed by him?
Because of the edit. They claim
it doesn't matter. Even a great director can have a terrible film if it isn't properly edited.
Examples?
And you know what? Also, and people say, "Oh, he was a student filmmaker back then." I was like, "Well, Why is that even a point?
He had like 40 something years at that time.
It's like, okay, why is it that they let people like Jar Jar Abrams have a free pass on everything, despite the fact that Jar Jar Abrams has not one original idea of his own?
No idea.
What about
And
Michael
also,
Bay?
a lot of his movies are in horribly edited mess.
What about Michael Bay or Explosion Bay?
Or
Yeah, but no one-
probably Wes Anderson.
Yeah, everyone attacks George Lucas when they list bad directors. Yet George Lucas, if you really think about it, isn't really that bad. Even on his
good.
even at his worst, George Lucas, is still better than majority of the hacks that are out, around today. I mean, name a single director that does visual storytelling as well as George Lucas.
Maybe
I
Spielberg,
can't.
I guess. No, the only one I can honestly think of is Spielberg. It's honestly the only one I can think of to compare to George Lucas, considering they're very close friends, and it's almost like both.
Oh, God.
They have several things kind of in common to some extent.
And no wonder there's bad movies nowadays. This is why I only watch anime.
And it's the same individuals that want George Lucas back, despite how bad the sequels are. Now they want George back, despite the fact they've threatened him, gave him death threats, called him a horrible person, just for doing something different than what they had in mind when they were kids.
Yeah. I also when we do our fandom podcast, I so want to talk about that. So yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Fucking God.
I think someone else should speak because I think I've spoken enough.
Have I spoken enough? I think I'm done too.
Okay.
Well, we need to give other people a chance to give their own perspective on this.
I think Avalon is the one that has talked the least now.
Let me see, with George Lucas then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me see. Well, I respect George Lucas a lot. I feel it's like that a person, it's like who does something on his or her own can sometimes be more successful than a group, really. It's like there's the classic dichotomy of quality versus quantity. It's like, and therefore George Lucas is quality, but then also it's like how he had other people helping him with the prequel trilogy, and people like him seem to forget that, as Dark Snobia says.
Exactly.
Don't you have any more to add? Because I feel like I've talked more than anyone in this segment.
Because you know more about it than I do, actually, because I just know that George Lucas is just a great storyteller.
Yeah. Also, there's something else to be said.
Enough love.
There's something else that must be said. There's George Lucas is very dedicated because it's like he gave 10 years of his life per trilogy to make it, and yet people mock him, and attack him just because he didn't make the prequel trilogy the way that they imagined. It's like they are extremely ungrateful. And also, as a side note, I'm glad that these new fake Star Wars movies are whooping the prequel haters' butts. They're like, George Lucas, please come back. Please come back. It's like, we forgive you, but also here's something else. They shouldn't forgive George Lucas. George Lucas should forgive those ingrates, They should be begging for forgiveness.
If I were George, I would never forgive them because they sent him death threats. They made a whole prequel hate campaign, and yeah, it was just whole.
As far as I'm concerned, George Lucas has already got his revenge.
Yeah. This sequel trilogy, the Disney owning Star Wars, is the revenge. And
It's like George Lucas
say that George Lucas actually conspired that he knew that it would go down this route. I mean, I don't believe it, but that's actually kind of a funny thought.
It's like George Lucas. It's like not my problem. I think we should do a meme about George Lucas. Like, this shit ain't my problem.
Yes. Show the meme of let the past die, kill it if you have to, and put a meme down below saying, and George saying, not my problem. Or Mary Sue Ray, and he's like, not my problem.
Lol. Speaking of George Lucas being involved in Disney Star Wars, what do you think of his involvement in Episode 9?
I think his involvement is grossly exaggerated.
I think it's a rumor, nothing more. A rumor.
I mean,
what are we talking about now?
George Lucas' involvement in like Rogue One and Solo.
And episode 9, upcoming
They're,
episode
they're,
9
they're
too.
very. What I've heard, they're very minimal.
George
Minimal
Lucas.
inside.
George Lucas probably. I don't think George Lucas had that much involvement. He probably visited the set for a day, gave some pointers, and that's it. I don't think he had that much involvement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think there's gonna have any true involvement in episode 9?
Even if George Lucas was involved in episode 9, do you think they're going to listen to him?
No.
I mean, the only reason he supposedly dares is just to direct how Luke is supposed to act. Because apparently Jar Jar Abrams is incompetent enough to do it.
Okay. Here's another thing. Prequel haters are using George Lucas as a way to make the sequels not as bad. It's like, oh, look what George Lucas would have done. He had the idea of doing a trilogy about metachlorians. It's like, even we don't know what George Lucas would have done. There's no evidence that he had a trilogy written.
I mean, there was rumors about his script talking about the origins of the Force and like these godlike beings who deal with something like that. I kind of have to like watch the video again. That's pretty much what his plan was.
And of course, I'm so unfortunately, guys, we got to bring this up because it's about George Lucas.
Okay.
Okay. This is probably okay. We're not hypocrites for bringing this up because this is relevant. People claim that George Lucas' sequel trilogy would have wiped the EU from canon, and there's no evidence for that either. It's like, what evidence is there that George Lucas would have done anything? We don't know for sure what George Lucas had planned, except that George Lucas would have had like the person said just now. It would about these Force beings are essentially like gods. They would have been about them, and we don't know what George Lucas would have done one way or another. And people need to stop claiming this as fact. George Lucas, only he knows what the sequel trilogy would have been. Only he does.
I think honestly he didn't want to do it at all. I think
he only wrote the outline to increase the value of the sale.
And you know what? I think also it's just stupid. Like I think the only reason why that shit was brought up is just to damage control for The Last Jedi. If you want to be technical.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And not to mention the damage control for the EU no longer being canon.
Oh
yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, guys, and for this segment, we kind of bring up the EU is valid considering that they use George Lucas as a way to justify their arguments.
Yeah. The EU was fucking canon, okay? Case in point. Always
George Lucas was involved much more.
Yeah, we'll get into more detail about that in a later podcast, but people, when things are inconvenient, they use George Lucas.
Yes.
And when it works in their favor. When it doesn't work in their favor, they blame George Lucas.
Hypocrites.
It's like it's like they're two-faced assholes. They claim they love George Lucas, then they fucking use him, in a negative way, every chance they get.
Yeah.
I hate that so much.
It's like George Lucas, I mean, this man it's like he did something that no one ever did before him. He's not the only person that beat the system, but he's one of the few that did. And not many people have beaten the system since.
Mm-hmm.
People, it's like the establishment. It's like people who like support the establishment in Hollywood hate people Mavericks like George Lucas. They hate those kind of people. They don't want independent filmmakers. They want people that are going to be yes men that will do everything they tell them to do and not actually want to create an actual story. George Lucas isn't anything like that.
And yet they criticize George Lucas for the whole yes men thing.
That's totally ironic.
I mean, it's basically that if Star Wars is doing great, they won't thank George Lucas. They'll thank someone like Dave Filoni or Pablo Hidalgo. But if it's going wrong, they'll throw George Lucas under the.
That is really true. I mean, Remember how many people were attacking George with that that interview he had when he called Disney white slavers?
Did he really call them that?
I took it as it was a joke. I thought it was a joke.
It wasn't a joke. George Lucas was serious that he sold Star Wars to white slavers.
Yeah, he literally did say that.
I know, but I took it more as a joke.
Yeah, I can tell he was very serious. He felt like his departure with Star Wars was practically a divorce.
I remember that too.
Yeah, and not to mention the shills and the fanboys attacked George Lucas for that comment. Like, oh, he's just jealous that no one likes his shitty prequels, and Force Awakens made more money in like a few weeks than all of his prequels combined, which isn't true if you adjust it for inflation.
Indeed. Not to mention, all the prequels combined still did more money than The Force Awakens, more than $2 billion.
Yep.
No, it's like George Lucas is probably the most overhated person of anyone, in Star Wars besides Hayden Christensen and Jake Lloyd.
And on the best, Jar Jar.
Yeah.
It's like
these people almost committed suicide.
Yes, he did.
Almost.
Oh, those bastards!
It's like these people have cost us everything. They drove away George Lucas from his creation, and now we're all paying the price for it. I mean, George Lucas has done so much more than he should have. I mean, if George Lucas didn't give a shit, about Star Wars, he would have sold it freaking ages ago, and he probably would have asked for more than $4 billion. In fact, Disney underpaid him for Star Wars. Should have been $20 to $40 billion, not freaking $4.
Yeah.
And yet Marvel costed more. $7 billion.
No, way more than that. Do you have any idea how much the Star Wars brand was worth?
How much?
I mean, think about how much money the freaking novels and the video games were making, all that combined,
and the
toys. It's like they had. It was worth so much more than what Disney fucking bought it for. They freaking made it fucking so. They basically stole Star Wars from George Lucas for the amount they paid him.
Yes.
Yep.
Also, there's this other thing, like about how I saw this thing online about how like Disney is not going to be able to make back its investment with Star Wars at the rate that they're going. It's like the next 12 films need to be successful, but it's not. But it's definitely not going to happen because people have been offended too much by what Disney and Lucasfilm have done.
Yeah, can we not call Lucasfilm? It's not worthy of the name anymore.
I call them Disney Star Wars.
Disney Star Wars.
Well, no. Let's just call it Kennedy film.
Okay, Kennedy film.
Even though I think at this point, I think Kathleen Kennedy is more of a figurehead of the problem.
So should we call it Iberville?
It's whatever. If you ask me, Pablo Hidalgo, fucking Disney Star Wars as a whole, everyone is part of the problem that is causing the death of the franchise.
Well,
even Dave Filoni.
Well, Kathleen Kennedy is not the problem. She's the symptom. That's the one thing about the fandom menacers they don't get. Kathleen Kennedy, she didn't get there overnight. She got there because, of all the hate George Lucas was getting with the prequels. She's a symptom, she isn't the main problem.
I see.
I mean,
I guess you can maybe say Disney Star Wars is the symptom, while the fanboys were the problem.
It's like Kathleen Kennedy would have never been the head of Lucasfilm had the fans not attacked George Lucas in the way that they did. It's like the problem is like, okay, I'm not saying that, I keep saying this. There's nothing wrong with not liking the prequels. There's nothing wrong with that.
But openly attacking George Lucas is not okay.
So horrible.
Or make another documentary about it.
Honestly, I really think that these people really need to die. I'm seriously not joking. I really seriously think these fanboys that started this war seriously need to be lined up and firing squatted.
Okay. Oh, whoa, that is. Well,
I'm keeping that in. I'm keeping that in.
Okay. Here's one thing I resent about this situation. They essentially buried an entire generation of Star Wars fans. The prequel haters did.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us here are millennials.
Yes,
we all are,
Mm-hmm.
and our generation has been buried under the bus because of these fuckers.
Yeah.
Looking at you, shoddy Cass.
Yeah, and fun fact: a fellow Star Wars fan, Gallifreyan Jedi. He's a I think he's a Gen Xer. He grew up with the original trilogy, and he's a good person. And he got driven away by these assholes.
Yeah, it's like this is why I have this is why I have such a loathing for Gen X Star Wars fans. I hate them because they basically buried an entire generation of fans. Look at majority of the fandom menace are essentially Gen Xers. I'm not saying there isn't millennials part of that crowd, because there are, but they claim that these are the same fuckers that hate anyone. This is just okay. We're done with the George Lucas part. I think we're getting to the end of this. I gotta make this clear. They essentially claim anyone that is a millennial, despite these idiots claim that those who like the sequels are millennials, even though that's complete bullshit, considering the fact that majority of these people that were praising the sequels were Gen Xers, not millennials.
Yep.
Okay, I know this generation thing is nonsense, and it's just a way to divide people. I'm just bringing this up because why is it that prequel fans are completely thrown under the bus? Like, aren't we the ones who helped build Star Wars, do what it is today? I mean, I hate to say this, but majority of Star Wars fans are not Gen Xers. It's our generation that's the biggest, part of the fandom. It's us. I mean, most of us were born in the mid to late 80s to the mid 90s.
That's true.
I started in the 90s.
I was born in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in the 90s too.
It's like most of us are like in our early 20s to our early 30s, which is me. So to pretend that our generation suddenly did not exist during the prequels is ridiculous. I mean, didn't millennials grow up with both trilogies?
Yes.
Why is the prequels millennial Star Wars? That's absurd.
It is absurd because I did see the original trilogy before the prequels.
The original trilogy and the prequels is our Star Wars.
Yes, our Star Wars is the sacred six.
Yes, we were fortunate. We were born in a time where there was two trilogies. We were fortunate, but these people grew most of their lives. There was only the original trilogy, and when the prequels didn't meet to their expectation, they fucking made that piece of shit. Freaking The People versus George Lucas. I mean, if these fandom menacers truly gave a shit about the current state of Star Wars, they'd be attacking and denouncing The People versus George Lucas. They would be talking about how disgusting this movie is and how it led to what we have now. But no, none of these fuckers have done anything to freaking.
That's another thing that pisses me off. I wish they call. Fun fact: if you go look at Gamers channel and World Class Bullshitters, they're subscribed to fucking Red Letter Media.
Of course.
Yeah.
No.
The people that actually helped cause this problem to begin with.
Yes. Right.
It's like
expose.
Well, I know we're pretty much done with the prequels, but this is relevant because the prequels is this is kind of touching on Star Wars only, his thing, and towards the end of the prequels are so great. Why?
Oh yes.
Why is it so divisive? Yeah, but this is relevant to what we're talking about. The prequels did not divide us to this extent. I mean, in the EU community, there was those who don't like the prequels, but they were either indifferent to them, at worst, they were indifferent because they had an entire universe to explore.
Yeah,
now,
Jensen's one.
Now, if you don't like the sequels, what's your choices?
But Jed Sarai is an example of someone who's an EU fan that doesn't like the prequels.
Yeah, but his reasons are he has valid reasons not to like them. He can support his opinions, while most of these prequel haters can't support their opinions because they're a bunch of NPCs. I hate to use this meme, but it's appropriate that
hive-minded fools.
Yeah, that can't make up their goddamn mind. I mean, so we need an overgrown man-child like Plinkett to judge the prequels and the originals. Thank you very much. And I can be the judge of what I consider good and what I consider fucking bad.
Don't kill me.
Yeah. And besides, you guys got to admit that the prequels did, regardless if you thought they were good or not, they did help influence a lot of media. I mean, look at Kingdom Hearts: Birth by Sleep. That clearly was inspired by the prequels.
Yes, it was. No, even though I'm not the biggest, I'm not a fan of that game. But that's not here or there.
And also, there's something else like of how, like with the influence of the prequel trilogy, how I remember from long ago. Like there was the TV show of Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, and how there was this episode where Buzz Lightyear was with this mom and this young boy, and the young boy had to have been Anakin, and the mother had to have been Shmi.
Okay, so I think we're gonna I think obviously we all know that these OT fanboys, if this shit never happened, we would not be in this situation to begin with. We would
indeed,
George would still own the franchise, but I think we'll go on about the fucking fandom when we get to that podcast. But I feel like we need to answer like the question that is important. Yes. Okay. Are the prequels as bad as people make them out to be?
No.
Hell no.
No.
Fuck no.
Of course not.
Are these
even if you don't like the movies, they're not as bad as people say they are.
Okay, are the prequels actually good movies but misunderstood?
Yes.
Yes. Especially episode 3.
They're brilliant.
I think I would say great, but
if Citizens Kane and The Godfather came out today, people would freaking hate those movies.
I know.
Probably.
Okay, and we already answered about the executed thing, so we don't need to go on about that. But did you really need the EU to understand the prequels, guys? Do you really needed the EU to understand all 3 prequels?
No.
Hell no.
Not at all.
No.
Anyone that claims this has not paid attention.
Oh shit.
I mean, okay. If you're gonna use this argument, then you've lost me. I mean. The prequels did a great job at world building and established the world in the prequel trilogy. You can't say the same for the sequel trilogy. I mean, for all you know, the galaxy's been at war with the empires, for like 50 years or so. You don't fucking know.
And yeah, what about the characters too? Don't forget the characters. The characters were pretty covered well in the prequels as well. And
yes.
General, I know you'd said that once at one point.
What?
You said that you sort of did need the expanded universe to understand the prequels. I know you did.
There was at one point, yeah. The one you could argue, I guess, is the Clone Wars multimedia project, but I guess that's it.
Fill in the gaps again. But
yeah, but there's nothing wrong with leaving things open because it allows external materials to if you care about what happens before the movie, you could actually read those materials or watch those materials. I mean, Halo arguably is one of the biggest multimedia franchises in gaming history. You don't need a
Halo. I love Halo.
I mean, Halo is awesome.
I mean, you don't need to read any of the novels to understand the games. The story, maybe 5, but for the most part, you don't need to read any of the external materials. Okay. Let's get back on
one question. Did the prequel trilogy really need to happen?
Yes, it did.
I believe so.
Okay, if we're looking at it, did we really need the prequels to enjoy the
Exist.
originals. Yeah, do they need to exist? That
It's a yes and no situation.
Yeah, but did we really need Empire Strikes Back for A New Hope? A New Hope was a good movie on its own. I mean, even if there was no sequels, it would have still been remembered as one of the greatest movies in cinematic history. Even if you did not have a sequel, we didn't need any of the sequels after A New Hope or any of the prequels. So the answer is no. We didn't need any of them. It's because, as far as I'm concerned, the first Star Wars is a good enough movie on its own that it didn't need any of that. And this is someone that loves, the original 6 films. I didn't think we needed more than one. But then again, that's every movie that exists. Do we really need the prequels or sequels?
I mean, you could probably say Lord of the Rings needed a sequel because that's an ongoing story. It had a
we're going by, but that's not related to that.
But Lord of the Rings was one novel, not 3.
Not to mention, another example would be: do we need the Alien sequel or Terminator 2?
No.
There you go.
Oh, okay. I'm not saying the prequels. The prequels weren't necessary. People may be correct on that. The original trilogy would have been fine without them. But I think the real question: do the prequels have a justification to exist? That should be the question they should be asking. Do they have a justification for their existence? Because that's what these people don't have a justification. I mean, okay, the prequel trilogy, in my opinion, they have justified their existence more than that, considering the fact that they established, how the galaxy got to the point that it did in the original trilogy. It established Darth Vader. It explained, why Obi-Wan is who he is in A New Hope. It showed us what a Jedi is supposed to be through Qui-Gon Jinn.
And we got to see the cultures of the various worlds of the galaxy. So absolutely, the prequels have justified their existence.
The Clone Wars, of course, that were heavily somewhat hinted in the OT.
Plus, we got to see. Plus, we got to see how great of an evil mastermind Palpatine was.
And we also got a little bit of exploration into Sith mythology. And
exactly. Yes.
Not to mention, every one of the villains in the prequels actually represents a certain stage that Anakin is in his step to the dark side.
Of course.
Yeah. And also, the prequels definitely gave us a lot more Star Wars content to chew on, because if there was only OT, we would have only had probably post-Return of the Jedi stuff.
Maybe some before that, but
but people contrast this with the sequels. As someone that's seen the sequels, at least 2 of them, they have no reason to exist. They don't justify undoing the ending of Return of the Jedi. They don't justify throwing out the expanded universe. They have no reason to exist, and they exist only as a cash grab.
Yes.
I mean, most franchises, when they do a prequel, it's a cash grab. They have no reason to exist, and they only ruin the original material by having it exist in the first place.
Yeah. The prequels, Star Wars.
I mean, the fact that the prequels, are as good as they are is a miracle within itself. I mean, you want to know a series that doesn't really have a justification to exist?
The Hobbit. I thought you were going to say The Hobbit.
Yeah. The Hobbit is a book, Kyle. Not
we're meaning the movies.
Enterprise, which is a prequel to Star Trek, that doesn't have a reason to exist. We didn't need to have all that stuff explained in Enterprise. I don't think it has a reason to exist, and neither does Discovery. They're both cash grabs.
I've also heard that Discovery Rex it doesn't follow the material of the other Star Trek series, like that. It does some messing up,
All right.
Okay.
So I think it's time we end the podcast now because it's been, I think we're almost
3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours and
Well-
39.
Well, okay.
All right, so guys, I hope you enjoyed our prequel defense podcasts. I hope you
Part 4.
enjoyed our ranting spiels on the fandom, but we'll be doing that a lot more soon in the future, and we're going to be doing that a lot more on the sequel trilogy in the future as well. And I hope, the Lord, that we get freaking Fordo back in here in several months.
Please. I want
I want
him
him
to
back,
be
too.
level 2.
When we do our EU podcast, we're going to get, I hope we get Fordo in here, but
I want
if
to
we ever
get
have
B
that-
level as well.
Yeah, too.
I do.
I
I
would
do.
love to-
I do as well. Okay. Anyway, my closing thoughts.
Okay, so Avalon, you first give your closing thoughts, and I'll give mine last.
Okay, well, I think we did a great job with the podcast that we've done, like with these 4 podcasts for defending the prequel trilogy. Our efforts are very one day it's like that these podcasts are going to help undermine Red Letter Media. It's like and bring the prequel trilogy back to its position of glory within the Star Wars fandom.
Or at least respect.
Yeah, so like, but let's go for glory. It's like it's much higher.
Yeah.
At least respect would be nice, but
Yeah.
No. Let's aim for glory.
Okay.
Yes, glory. Yes, Dark Snovia. Yes.
well,
Glory
We will
is
fight
dead.
for love and glory.
Yes.
let's send these podcasts. Let's send these podcasts to Jen Sarai too. So,
Okay.
but anyway,
I don't think Jen Sarai has that kind of time.
Yeah.
and by the
You
way,
could
if
at
he's
least
watching,
see the Phantom Menace one.
okay, and Jordan, your turn to give your closing thoughts, and then General, then Iron, then King, then me.
My closing thoughts. I encourage anyone who watches these who feel like that not enough people are defending these movies. Do it yourself. Do your own podcast. Do your own videos. More of us need to be doing this. We're the little guys. We are the real rebellion here, not these fake-ass fandom menacers like Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers and those
World-class
people and the
bullshitters.
world-class bullshitters. None of those people represent us. We are the little guy, and I think it's up to us to fight for a better Star Wars, not them.
Yeah. And also
Yes.
expand the universe communities. Okay. So for me, well, let's just say I've also enjoyed doing these prequel podcasts because I always like the Star Wars prequels. You already know this. And seeing all this fucking hatred come out of nowhere, I was like actually like not liking it. There was a small point in my life that I actually kind of doubted if the prequel movies were actually good or bad, but it was because I was seeing all this skewed biasness that there was definitely one point that I was tempted to be taken over by it, but I persisted, and now I'm definitely against that fucking bias hatred. So
Yeah.
And I also encourage everyone else to do your own definitely prequel defense videos, because I definitely think that we should definitely give them a lot more credit, and they were given back in 2009, and now
Fuck.
yeah, fucking wicked. Anyway, so next, Iron.
I'm so glad we could give these films the justice they deserve. Just kicking these stupid fanboys' asses. And just showing the world that all these criticisms of the prequels are just stupid.
And bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. And like you guys said, I really hope more people come out and to defend these films. In fact, a couple days ago, someone told me that I inspired them to do videos speaking out against Plinkett, and I actually watched this person's videos, and it's really good, and we need more people like this. And I hope it's the first of more to come.
Yeah.
I hope so too. It's been a decade since those fucking reviews came out.
Oh yes, almost a decade. Anyway, King.
It's my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a bit of a speech. We had a great universe growing up. This blank universe that taught us great philosophies, showed us that anything could be possible through the force and technology and coming together. And you, vocal man children, ruined it for us, caused us to be ostracized, caused the creator to feel like he was the Antichrist, and caused him to be despondent about his own child. And you have him sold it to these people who don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about this franchise. And now we're all in a rut. And now, thanks to you, Plinkett, we will fix what you started. Eat a dick.
Good one. All right. I guess it's my turn
Love
now.
it.
Okay. Love it. Yeah. All right. So my turn to give my closing thoughts. All right. So when we finally got into defending the prequels. You know, this is something that I've been looking forward to for a long time, and I don't believe it's possible to do it just one person, because being with a group of people that share similar opinions is often giving it more context and many different opinions and whatnot on the matter. And the thing is that I'm glad that we finally are able to defend the prequels. It was a really hard journey, and I hope you guys also enjoy our previous 4 parts. Thing is, I don't know what the future holds when it comes to the State of Star Wars podcast, but I hope it's a good one. And I enjoy the friends that I made. Dark Zenobia, you being 1, General, you being 2, Iron Inquisitor, you being the next one. I'm still yet to get to know you, King. I'm still yet, well, even though you're my friend on PSN. And Avalon, I'm still yet to get to know you a little more. But like I said, this podcast is about making friends in the end, no matter what.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool.
Yes, we're all in this together.
Even though I'm kind of a person that needs to be thrown over a bridge, but that's a different subject. But
don't trash yourself.
Yeah, I'm trash.
No, you're not trash.
But the thing is, like I said, is that it was a great journey, and I can't wait to for our future podcast, and I can't wait to see the reception for this episode, which is getting too long, so I think it's time to cut it quick.
Yes.
So I will say, may the force be with you all, and Getsuga Tensho.
And may we live long and prosper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway. Bye,
May
guys.
your heart be your guiding key.
Bye, guys.
It's over.